Do I look beautiful, Jackie?
You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you, love.
Very tan.
Yeah?
I told you this yesterday.
Let's go. Your boy's got a tan. What's up, you mutts? Welcome to another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show. I'm looking tan. It's the first tan I've had in like 2 years. Nobody had a tan last year because of COVID. At least I didn't. And then the year before that, I just like didn't go out at all during the summer. The kids were like a nightmare. They weren't like at the fun level of like going to the pool and stuff like that. Nah, your boy's got a tan. I'm back. I'm fat, but I'm back. I'm fat though. You know, one of the worst feelings for a guy, a skinny fat guy, is when you can't wear a t-shirt anymore. That's one of those pinpoint moments of like you're old and fat. There are certain moments in your life, subtle things that let you know you've crossed a bridge and there's no going back. Like, for instance, you know you're old when you like unsweetened iced tea. The moment that you can drink a bitter-ass iced tea and you like that better than like a big fat thing of Lipton where you take those scoops that are like the size of a mountain and you put like 10 of them into a single cup, or like a Snapple. By the way, Snapple, the younger generation, drinking out of these plastic Snapple bottles. Oh, ay caramba. These guys don't understand what they're missing. A nice glass Snapple bottle where you hit the bottom and, it pop, and the top pops. Man, that was a great bottle, and that was a great iced tea. And then you hit a moment where you're older and you drink unsweetened with a little lemon. I can't just go straight black tea. That's gross. I load up with lemon. A Dunkin' Donuts iced tea with extra lemon is the single greatest unsweetened iced tea on the planet Earth. I know it's crazy because it's Dunkin' Donuts. You'd think that like some mom and pop shop who has perfected the art of tea would know this, but no, it's not. It's the man, it's the machine, corporate America. Dunkin' Donuts, iced tea, extra lemon. Mwah, magnificent. But the moment that I drank that and liked it, I was like, oh, yeah, you're washed. You're old as fuck. Because I remember being like, who the fuck would ever like this? You watch old people drink that tea and you're like, this is disgusting. Give me that sugar shit. And then that's how I became Young Unsweetened. If you remember when I was doing my rap song, my MC name was White Zinfandel, a.k.a. Young Unsweetened, because I had crossed that bridge. So that's when I knew I was old, and how I knew that I was transferring over to fat from the skinny fat world, the moment I couldn't wear a t-shirt out. You know, you wear like, I don't know, like a tight like dress shirt or something like that, and it's like, oh yeah, this is starting to show some things. But a t-shirt, I was always able to just pop on and go. Summertime hits, whatever, I'm wearing a t-shirt, doesn't matter. I could be in a hoodie in the winter, t-shirt in the summer, and still look fine. Now though, I don't know, you put on a t-shirt and you're like, oh fuck, my tits are showing, my love handles are showing. That's why the summer is tough for people. That's why people don't, younger people, I love the summer. Older guys, not so much. The only thing that gets me through the summer is Miller Lite, man. I've been in the sun and I've been slugging Miller Lites responsibly, of course, all summer long. That's the only way I survive. I love when that like the smoke kind of comes off the bottle. Please, I hope you're watching on YouTube right now. You're seeing this right now. It's a beaut. Miller Lite, only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces, so I can drink these, a bunch of them, responsibly, of course, and not worry about what I'm going to look like in a t-shirt, because it's drinkable, it's delicious, and it's not too filling. So always celebrate yours responsibly. Go to MillerLite.com/KFC, and you can find out how to get them delivered right to your door. We got Sam Morril on the show today. The Spite Tour rolls on each and every week. I'm doing this podcast for the little man. I'm doing this podcast for the up-and-comers, the people who think that their show can't ever amount to something, the people who are losing motivation and getting discouraged, like, oh, my show is not successful and it's never going to be, and I'm not going to get the help that I need or the infrastructure that I need to make it big. This is for you. You got to do it your fucking self. I'm booking every guest myself. We're going to put this show on my back and make it happen. So all the comics that you see in the coming weeks are a part of the Kevin Clancy Spite Tour. And today it's Sam Morril, one of the funniest comics, just like his partner Mark Norman we had last week. Sam Morril is one of the greatest joke writers and joke tellers alive on the planet today. And I've known him for a while now. He's been on KFC Radio before. Many years ago, he made his first appearance. And I've watched him grow as, like, he's always been a great comedian, but now he's a podcaster. Now he's got his own show. And I've watched him grow as a host and a guest and just learn how to take that comedy and put it into like conversation. It's unbelievable now. He's the full package with a great story about his coming of age tale, being an adopted kid, and what his relationship with his biological father is. A dramatic tale that's like straight out of a fucking movie, him reconnecting with his biological dad. So some very interesting stuff with him. But some very interesting stuff going on with me as well. I got to get on a fucking vacation, man, because I have these, sometimes, you know, your body eventually just tells you like something's up. Like, you know, you hear these stories about like some fucking celebrity on set like passes out from exhaustion, and that's probably them like straight up overdosing on drugs, some of these celebrities. But I think it's also sometimes people or entertainers who are on tour who just like pass out and they got to shut down the whole tour, and it's these people who just kind of push themselves to the fucking limit. And I feel like I've done that. I'm out here as an internet coal miner, and I feel like the mine is just collapsing in on me. And you know, people like me, Irish Catholic guy, we don't really pay attention to the signs. You know, we just kind of suppress everything down deep inside your bones, into your bone marrow. That's where you put all your feelings. That's where you put all the warning signs, and you just keep your head down and you plow through. It's the most unhealthy way to live. It's the only way to live. You know, warning signs for the Irish Catholic, you know, they're more of like a suggestion. Like, what's that thing in Germany called? The Autobahn, right? That's Germany, where it's like the race. It's like the streets, the highway out there is like a fucking racetrack. You can go as fast as you want. And there like is a speed limit posted, I believe. But it's more like, maybe you can do that. It's like, don't get me wrong. You should heed this warning. You should not go faster than this. You should change the way you're driving, or you'll die in a fiery crash. But you don't technically have to. That's the mental health warnings when the Irish Catholics see them. It's like, you should be going 55, but we're going a $155. So it takes a lot for me to take note, but when I get stressed out, I get an eye twitch about a month ago. If you saw my Instagram, we'll put it in the video now if you're watching on YouTube. I had my eye twitching right here. My bottom eyelid twitched for like 2.5 weeks straight. I almost chopped my fucking head off. I almost ripped my eyeballs out of my head. It was driving me crazy. It's like the ringing of the ears, the twitching of the eyes. It was just a constant little like a crazy little heartbeat right in my fucking bags under my eyelids. And then, so that happened the last couple weeks, and then the sleep talking started. And I know a handful of listeners probably know that I am a notorious sleepwalker and sleep talker, but this was one of my better incidents. I sleep talk all the time, and it's not like gibberish. It's not like I'm just like, I speak words. I will give you sentences. They just don't mean anything. They're either words that are completely disjointed, or they're coherent, but they're about a topic that, like, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Usually it's when I have somebody in bed. Yeah. Somebody in bed, and they tell me what fucking crazy things I was saying. One of the more embarrassing things you can have happen to you, by the way, is if you are not in a comfortable stage with a person yet and you start sleep talking. Also, you want to hear some fucked up shit? If you're a sleep talker, don't ever tell a girl that, because I've had that weaponized against me. I've been told, I've told people before I'm a sleep talker. And I usually, here's the thing, I usually know when I'm doing it. Like, I won't necessarily remember all the details, but I'll know, like, last night I was sleep talking. Or even in the moment, sometimes I'm half in and I'm half out, and I'm like, fuck, Kevin, you're sleep talking, stop. So I usually know. It's not like I don't ever have, like, any recollection. But I've told girls before that I am a sleep talker. They have then proceeded to snoop, go through my phone, go through my computer, find things. But what happens when you snoop and you find stuff? You go through somebody's phone and you find something you want to call out, find some evidence, find some ammo that you want to use that proves you right and them wrong. How can you bring it up without admitting that you went snooping? Because in my mind, in my book, if you come to the argument, you come to the table with some info that you got from snooping, inadmissible in court. I want that stricken from the record. If you obtained that information through illegal means, then the jury shall not hear it. It shall not it shall not persuade the jury members in their final decision. So you got to come up with some way that you can bring that up without, you being the asshole now. Because now we got a whole other fight on our hands. Forget about the old fight. Now we're talking about you snooping. So what did they do? They told me, this is twice I believe it happened to me. They told me that I brought it up and I told them in my sleep. Bullshit. I would never do that. Not in my deepest of sleeps would I ever shoot myself in the foot and bring some shit up that I knew would piss off the girl I was seeing. Never. Never. There's like a fail-safe deep inside my bones, in every guy's bones, that says, like, deny, 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 Costanza style. There's no fucking way I would have ever admitted to this shit. And I was told that it was when I was sleep talking. And at the time, I was like, fuck, man, And it wasn't anything too bad. It wasn't like the other incidents I've been involved in. It was just like stupid shit here and there that I had kind of been like, no, that's not true. And it was, or like, no, we're just friends, or they weren't, whatever it was. I was like, fuck, did I really betray myself? And now we'll fuck with you, man. The rest of my time, every time we laid down to go to sleep, I was like, please don't do it, please don't do it, please don't do it, please don't do it again. I can't even go to sleep. I can't even sleep in peace without thinking that my dumb brain was going to betray me. So, this latest sleep talking, like I said, I know when I'm doing it, kind of. So I woke up in the morning, and I was like, ooh, I remember what happened last night. So, if you saw my Instagram, I posted the video, and it's harrowing. We'll run it here on the YouTube. If you're listening, seriously, just stop and go watch on the YouTube. This is a very visual episode. We're going to put up some Instagrams, some pictures and shit. So go to the KFC Radio YouTube. Both KFC Radio and Kevin Clancy Show material are all under one roof on YouTube now. Plus 1 Minute Man and One Thing I Learned, all of that shit. We're also going to be doing an AMA, Ask Me Anything, where I'm going to pop on YouTube Live and I'll answer all your questions, but you got to be a subscriber to be in the chat to leave your questions. And I'm at the point, folks, where I will answer whatever the fuck you want. So, point is, subscribe and go watch. So, this is the video. Now, here's what happened. I have a recollection of that night of waking up, and these days I sleep on my back, which is crazy to me. I never was a back sleeper. I was always a side sleeper, stomach sleeper. Now my body, my shoulder, and my neck are so fucking shot, I gotta just lay on my dumbass back. Sometimes I lay like a legitimate fucking corpse, like a mummy. My arms crossed, I just lay back. And then I, get three cheed up, and I pass out for the night, and I stay in one spot. So when I wake up, I am stiffer than a motherfucker. I mean, my whole body is like, I can't even sleep anymore without pain. Like, forget about exercising and shit. It's like, oh, what's wrong with you? I slept. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I start cracking. Not my dick. I just start cracking my knuckles, right? And I start with my fingers, and I'm like, bam, 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 bam. I get every fucking finger, every knuckle. And really, when you think about it, I go thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I get 24 cracks out of just my knuckles. So I'm on fire, dude. And then I hit the neck. And I'm like, whoa. And I hit my back. And bottom line is, I crack every fucking bone, joint, whatever in my body, like those TikTok accounts of those weirdo girls who start popping their elbows like they're the fucking possessed demon in The Exorcist. And in my brain, I was like, I got to get this on camera, because two things. One, during COVID, I used to wake up every morning and I would pop my neck and I would put it on Instagram for like ASMR purposes, because I get deep crunches in my neck. Cracking your neck, second to only cracking your dick. I crack my neck, man, it's like damn near orgasmic. So I used to do that. And then secondly, my crazy, like, stressed out fucking brain, I'm always thinking content, gotta film, gotta get it on camera, need it for the show, get your phone out. So I crack all my bones, and I'm like, get your phone out. And then I think what that video is, I think I was proceeding to do an ad read. Because I'll often hop on the phone with my brother for 1 Minute Man, or I get on with Nick for the podcast, and I'm like, oh, we got to do that part We got to include this. We have to do the bit. We have to do the ad. And that's how I was talking. I said, we have to do we have to include the part. And then I said, Crust Technologies for all your scientific needs. We got to have the part where you use Crust Technologies for all your scientific needs. And the only thing I can think is that at first I thought I said Crunch Technologies, which is what I think I meant to say because I was cracking all the bones. So I think in my brain I had something going on about technology that would help crunch your bones for you. I don't fucking know, man. But I wake up talking about Crust Technologies for your scientific needs. And my eyes are rolling and I'm like half asleep and I'm, the 3 cheese still kicking in and I got no voice and I'm for your scientific needs. I mean, just as bizarre as it fucking gets, man. I posted that and people were genuinely concerned. They were like, what the fuck is this? And then you got the haters who were like, why did you have the lights on? I was like, it's not the lights, it's the fucking flash on my camera, you dumbasses. I'm like, well, why was this camera filming you? I was like, it's my fucking phone and I turned it on. I think people thought that I had set the camera up, which is something I might have to do, by the way, to make sure I catch all these interactions with my goddamn self. I had the phone out, I turned it and was filming myself, you idiots. And the people were like, somebody said imagine doing this for coming up with this for attention. Do you think that this was scripted? I would lay there in bed with my eyes rolling around, I look like Biggie in the Mo Money, Mo Problems video, with my eyes going every which way, and talk about Crust Technologies for your scientific needs. That'd be the least funny fucking thing of all time. Crust Technologies for your scientific needs. Give me a fucking break. It's right up there. I would say that's the third, maybe the second most ridiculous. Top 3 though, on the podium, most ridiculous sleepwalking talking incident of my life. The other 2, this is either the bronze or silver. This one's probably the bronze, to be honest. There was one time I was engaged at the time, and I woke up, or I didn't wake up. I was half asleep, and I looked at the air conditioner, and I saw the light that it was on, and it had the temperature. And in my brain, the temperature was going up, or whatever I was reading on there. It said let's say it said 68 degrees. In my head, it looked like it said or was going up to 680 degrees. So in my mind, we were being snuffed out. The room was on fire. We were trapped in a hot box that we were going to be burned alive. And so I popped out of my bed and I fucking ran out of the bedroom. And I got to the front door of our apartment, and my fiance at the time kind of ran after me and stopped me, and was like, "What are you doing?" And I snapped out of it, and I explained the story, and we kind of laugh about it, and then we had the realization. Rather, she had the realization. She was like, "So wait a minute." After a laugh about it, I think we might have even gone back to bed. Wake up in the morning, she's like, "So wait a minute. In your mind, you were convinced that room was on fire and we were about to burn to death and you just fucking jetted? You just bounced? You just left me for dead? Go ahead, fire, eat her up. I'm hitting the fucking elevator. I'm out of here." I was like, yeah, I guess that's about right, man. Guess I was just going to leave you there to burn. It's almost like that. There's that story in the shooting, in the Batman shooting, Aurora, Colorado. There's a story of some guy who got separated from his fiance because he just started running. I mean, that's a tough look. That's some Costanza shit again, where he's pushing old ladies out of the way because he thought there was a fire at the party. That's tough to come back from. Mine was a funny hypothetical. I'm dreaming. She was like, "Oh great, I'm gonna marry this guy who would leave me in a fire." But that chick who that happened in the shooting, she had proof positive that when shit goes down, her boyfriend's like, "Peace, every man for himself, I'm out." That's a tough look, but honestly, you got to look deep within yourself and ask yourself that question. Are you the hero? Are you really gonna You really gonna go Mark Wahlberg on that one? You know, that shooter, that would have ended differently if you were there? I'd like to say I would be. What do you think would happen? Let's say there's a shooter in here. You think I'm saving you, Jackie? You think I'm taking bullets for you and throwing you on my back and we're running out of here together? No. You think I'm saving Mike?
If you save Mike and not me.
That was the joke. Imagine that. It was like, well, yeah, I'd get Mike. Yeah. No, I don't think I'm getting anybody.
I think I'd be saving you. As your loyal intern or
listen, you save me in an active shooter,
no.
like you can have the fucking you get third chair on the podcast. You're promoted immediately. You're the star of the show now.
Maybe I'll set it up.
Imagine that if you save John. Maybe I'll set it up. Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding.
Jar! We need a new jar. No, we need like a whole separate jar. That's not a suicide reference. We're setting up a fucking homicide reference.
Suicide and murder jar.
Yeah, mass shooting jar. Imagine that. You save Feidelberg from a mass shooting, and he's like, fucking, God damn it, Jackie.
Yeah.
This was my chance. I had my opportunity. But really, I mean, how many people in the world do you think are genuinely, like, going to go last action hero out there and save you?
Me?
Just in general.
Personally?
No, yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're trapped in a room and, like, the shooting's going down, how many people are just like, I'm going to run for the doors, or I'm just going to hide under this desk, and, you know, it's every man for himself.
Who do you think that you would save?
I mean, I would definitely save my kids.
Yeah.
I don't think I would save. Like, I can't, like, run up on the guy and disarm him, right? But I don't think I would leave anybody. I feel like if we were stuck, like, all right, shit goes down, right, and we both, like, hop under a desk or some shit, I'm staying with you until we're dead, you know? I don't think I would be like, peace, like kick you in the face and run out the door. I think I would stay with you, but I don't think, you know, I'm not jumping in the way of the bullets or anything like that. You know what I've often thought about, and our guys on Are You Garbage, we're just talking to Mike Feedy on the latest episode of their podcast about this, and this is something, remember I said 25% of my brain is obsessed, is constantly thinking about what would happen if I was stuck in an active shooter situation. I've often thought about playing dead. That, I think, is the more realistic way, you know, like, best case scenario in an active shooter, you get clipped in the shoulder, and then you lay down, and you just pretend they got you. And
Best case scenario is technically like you stop them.
Best case scenario, okay, best case scenario that's realistic. Best case scenario, yeah, I turn into fucking Steven Seagal in the 90s, and I disarm you, and I chop you in the neck, and you're fucking down. Yeah, that's best case scenario. That's not happening. Best case realistic scenario, there's like a door right there, and I run away. Second, third, fourth, fifth case scenario, I get clipped, I fall down amongst other dead bodies, R.I.P., and I just hold my breath and hope that he thinks I'm dead.
Why are you holding your breath?
So he doesn't see me breathing. If I'm breathing, I'm alive.
Yeah, but you could, like, just don't, yeah.
What? Just don't breathe? Yeah, that's why I'm holding my breath.
Okay, that's a good point.
Because if he sees me breathing, he knows I'm alive. You got to hope that he's just kind of looking. You got to hope that he's done some damage, and there's a lot to see, to survey here, and that he's looking like at the piles, and he's like, all right, this is taken care of. But it's an all or nothing play, because let's say I'm like, all right, I'm going to play dead. And then he's like looking on the other side of the room, and you see him going like body to body, just being like, all right, not yet. Pff, nope, that guy. Pff. And then you're done, because then now you're putting all your eggs in the play dead basket if he starts double checking. Or she, by the way, could be a her. She never is. It really never is. But maybe she. We could really use one of those to even out the fucking sides. Jesus. Can I get a female shooter one time? Making us look bad. Fuck almighty. So, yeah, that was the one. That was another classic sleepwalking incident. But then there's the number one, the pinnacle of sleepwalking. Really maybe one of the most detrimental, destructive sleepwalking stories of all time. is when I got all my injuries. And I posted the picture on Instagram not too long ago. If you scroll through my grid, you'll see the hardware I've got. I got my disc removed from my neck and my lower back, and then they put in a titanium cage with a cadaver vertebrae, a little chunk of bone in that cage, and then it grew into one gigantic vertebrae. So I've got a fused one in my neck and in my back. I got 3 shoulder surgeries, and a partridge in a pear tree, man. And it all stems from one fateful night where I went sleepwalking and I ruined my life. I legitimately ruined my life in that moment. It's crazy to pinpoint something like that. Do you have anything that's just that was it right then and there, ruined everything, and you can trace back every other problem that has arisen in your life to that moment? That's what happened to me in a matter of 30 seconds. Life ruined. Physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. Gone. Dunzo. Because I popped out of my fucking bed and went running around like a maniac. I was living at Fordham at the time. I was a freshman in college. And I was living with my two guys, one of which is still my best friend. One guy was a very devout religious guy, devout Catholic. Used to read the Bible every night, straight edge. Great guy, baseball fan. We used to chop it up, but he just never partied. Then I got my other friend. He's one of my best friends. He's an absolute fucking moron. This dude told me freshman year, first day. First of all, we both said to each other, yeah, what time are you going to be at the dorm to move in? And I was like, I'm going to be there at 2. And he was like, yeah, I'll be in the afternoon too. And then I was like, fuck that. I'm showing up 8 a.m. so that I can get all the good beds and the good spot and all that shit. So I pull up as early as possible. Guess what he does? Same fucking thing. So we're both looking at each other. We're like, okay, snake versus snake here. We got a snake versus a rat. This is a mongoose versus a cobra. Let's see who wins. So that type of guy. So that's the setting. It's me and those two. And I wake up one night. This is after. So 2 weeks earlier, I had been mugged. So 3 main things happened. My grandma died. She was a mom to me. We lived together. At one point, me and her lived alone together. It was wild. There was a period of time in my family's life where all of us were split up, but not because of a divorce or anything bad. It was just my grandpa got sick and my mom wanted to be with him, but my brother was in school, so they didn't want to take him out of it. So they decided, let's split up. We're a fucking baseball team in spring training. We'll just do a split squad, intra-squad game. This whole thing, 5th and 6th grade for me was like a scrimmage, inter-squad scrimmage, where we're just all right, you go live here, you go live there, you go to this school, you go to that school. Honestly, my brother and my dad stayed outside in the burbs of Philly because my brother was in high school at that point. And they didn't want to move him from high school. Me and my mom moved back to the Bronx, and it was fucking wacky, man. And then there was a period of time where my mom, we moved in with my grandma. Then we got a different house, but I would stay with certain days with my grandma. That's another story for another day, because I can get into a whole bunch of things. But I just remember vividly living alone with my grandma, sneaking Kent cigarettes. She smoked cigarettes right off the Indian reservation. She would legitimately bootleg her cigarettes from her friend because she would get them tax-free. And I remember bumming them off of her when she wasn't looking. One time, how about this for ridiculous? The first time I ever smoked a cigarette, I smoked 4 at a time. What a fucking move that is. I came back to the apartment. She wasn't there. I had the whole... And the best part is everything smelled like smoke because she was a fucking chimney. So I didn't have to hide it. I just took 4 of them and put them in my mouth all at once and lit all of them. Just because I was yeah, well, if I'm going to try this, I might as well do quadruple what you're supposed to do. So she was my dog. So she dies. I'm all stressed because of that. I go to college and I break up with my girlfriend. Pussy. I'm all stressed out because I broke up with my girlfriend from college, from high school. Guess what, dude? Everyone breaks up with their girlfriend from high school. I remember I was having I had a legitimate sad moment at home where I was kind of crying. I'm playing sad music, fucking making it worse. And I'm crying, and my mom sees me. She's like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I'm can you just come sit with me? She's like, of course. She sits down. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm just so sad about like breaking up with her. And she, no gas, no lies. She was like, oh, that's what this shit is about? I'm like, come on. Like, sack up. You'll be fine. I've never seen her switch from like mom fragile mode to like mama bear shut the fuck up mode like that. She thought something was really wrong. She thought something was like dead. I was like, oh, I just broke up with my girlfriend. She's like, shut up, pussy. You're about to go to college. Go fuck some other girls, you big baby. But that had happened, and I was upset about that. And then, the icing on the cake, I get mugged at Fordham. Out on the street, me, my buddy, whose nickname was Stonehands. That comes into effect in a minute, don't worry. And this girl, we go out on like a Tuesday night. We hit the bar. Nobody's even out. It was a casual night. We went to Howl at the Moon at Fordham. It's on 189th Street, I believe. And no, not 189. What was that street? Doesn't matter. Right off Arthur Ave. And we have a couple pictures, whatever. We're not drunk. We go home. And as we're walking home, we're like, if I look around the corner, I can see the security guard booth that's right along the gate to get onto campus. So we're like right there, but not within eye shot because we had to go around the corner. And this guy turns around, he comes behind us, and he grabs this girl by the arm and like kind of spins her around, and he's got this little gun. It looked like the PP7 from GoldenEye. Remember that one? Like the little gun without the silencer. And he says something like, he's like, yo, baby girl, like you got pretty eyes, but it's Christmas time, and I need that money, so like give me everything you got. Now this girl was a little bit buzzed, and she was a baddie. This chick was like not to be fucked with, as I had learned. Like she was kind of the type of girl who will like beat up other chicks and maybe other dudes, like rough and tough girl, doesn't take shit. And she was about to mouth off back at him. And I can tell, let's just say, where she was going with her word choices and how bad of a word choice it was going to be. And so Jackie, I'm changing my fucking answer on the active shooter because I was kind of the hero. Because this guy's legit got a gun and she was about to mouth off. And I said her name. I yelled her name and I said, stop. Like, don't do that. And that's when he turned his attention to me and he said, oh, so you're going to be the hero, F word? Shout out to Matt Damon. And that's when I'm like, no, sir, I am not the hero. But at this point, I'm like legitimately like hands up and he puts the gun into my neck. And I'm like, brother, I am not the hero. I barely know this chick. I don't give a fuck about her, to be honest. And you can have whatever you want. Now, the reason I mentioned Stonehands is because my boy was just standing there. And we call him Stonehands, not because he couldn't catch a football, not because he had the fumbles and always dropped everything, because he used to beat the shit out of people. Never saw a bar fight this guy didn't win. I've seen him one punch people. One time this guy, everybody hated him. Stonehands was the type of guy, he wouldn't pick fights. He wouldn't start fights. He would end them. So he wasn't like an asshole fighter. He was like a noble one, okay? And I remember they were like mouthing at the bar, right? This little kid, he sucked. And Stonehands was like, dude, I'll knock you out in 2 seconds. And that was part of like their chirping. And, everything eventually gets settled. Later that night, they meet on the street. And they like come closer and they get like nose to nose basically. And this kid goes, bro, what's up? I thought you said you'd knock me out in 2. Pow! Couldn't even finish the sentence. He's like, I thought you said you'd knock me out in 2 seconds. Halfway through it, boom, one punches the kid, lays him out. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. That and another time, he got jumped. It was a fight outside the bar, and he was fighting a bigger guy who was on the football team. And so he was already like not outnumbered, but out. He was way above his weight class. And one of the bouncers at the bar who we were fighting outside of was also on the football team. And this fucking snake, skunk, rat motherfucker grabbed my friend from behind, like hooked his arms. So he was like held back kind of. and let his football player, like his teammate, like wail on him a couple times. So he's like basically fighting 2-on-1. They eventually go down to the ground. This guy's probably got him by like 100 pounds almost. And Stonehands ends up like pulling a reversal move. Like remember in like WWF when somebody would have like you locked in the ankle lock or in the figure four or the sharpshooter, and the guy would like slowly climb to get the rope break and the crowd would go crazy. He did the equivalent of that in a street fight, where like he was on top of him and like just slowly turned the tides, and next thing you know, he got out of it and was on top of him and just wailing him. And it got to the point where he won the fight basically. The bouncer needed to separate him, and I'll never forget there was this dude who I think he was on the other side. He was friends with the other guy, and after the dust settled, he goes, "Who is that dude?" I was like, "That's Stonehands." He's like, "That's your boy?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, he's got spirit. That guy fights with spirit." It was like a line from a goddamn movie, like he was fucking Rocky, like he was Creed, or that movie like Warrior with Tom Hardy. Like he's got spirit, bro. But where was Stonehands when your boy had a fucking PP7 to the neck? Nowhere to be found. Where were you on that one, Stonehands? You couldn't have pulled one of your famous one punches right to the temple? Take that guy out? I'm very much kidding, because anytime, I mean, God forbid, that would be the dumbest thing you could do. Imagine he did try to fight him and that guy just blew my head off. Imagine that. Imagine if I just, poof, my brains are in the sky and Stonehands is like, well, shouldn't have done that. Made the wrong call on that one. You know, tried to be a hero there. Backfired. But, you know, I'm like, okay, dude, like whatever. We get out our wallets. I think the guy got like $7. It was like we're college kids on a Tuesday night. Of course you can rob me. I have literally nothing. So like, go ahead. You're on your way. We ended up going to the police station and like the next day or later that week, and they, you know, gave us like a binder of people to look through, like perps in the neighborhood. And I'm like, bro, we're never finding this fucking guy. I'll also never forget though. We went back to the dorm, and I was kind of in like a state of shock, and it was after hours, quiet hours. Remember that in the dorm room? And we had this real motherfucker of an RA, Nick, something with a W. Nick, like I don't know what it was. No, whatever. I was about to say Nick Walenda, but I'm thinking that because that was the tightrope guy, because he did spell it N-I-K. So this guy's a real cocksucker, N-I-K, Nick. And he comes out of his little dorm and he starts complaining like, you're being loud during quiet hours. And I was like, I just had a fucking gun in my neck, Nick. I actually, later, like years later, I confronted him at a homecoming. It was one of the most satisfying things I've ever done in my life. Remember, you know, you ever have those moments where you're like, you want to Costanza that shit, like, well, the jerk store called and they're running out of you. And you're like, I should have said that. I was thinking I should have unloaded on that dude. Like, he was being such a absolute asshole cocksucker to me. And I never said anything about it. And then like years later, I run into him at a homecoming, and I went up to him and I just lost it. And he was like, hey, what's up, man? I remember you. And I was like, oh, do you? Yeah. Well, fuck you. And I went crazy in the middle of Muggsy's. And he was like, and he was a small guy too. Probably like the only guy on the planet Earth I could beat up. And I went nuts on him and like mic dropped it and left the bar. And I've never been more satisfied. The chance you get, if you ever get a chance to like right a wrong or deliver the jerk store joke, if you get the chance to do that, oh my God. Anyway, all the way back to sleepwalking. I'm super stressed about all this shit. And I had a dream that someone was like chasing after me. And I literally pop out of my bed, jump out, like run through our little dorm, navigating through like chairs and piles of shit. Obviously a dirty dorm room. I open up the door and I turn left and I start sprinting down the hallway of Alumni Court South. That was the name of our building. And people thought that I fell down the stairs. I navigated the stairs fine. I just tripped like a white girl running away in a horror movie. You know when they're running and they just trip on the open field? And they trip and they fall, and then they get up and they trip and they fall, and the whole time you're like, run, bitch, run! Why can't this white bitch run? Well, I don't know. I'm here to tell you, when you think you're being chased by a monster or another guy with a gun or whatever, apparently, you know, you get a little tripped up. I fell a bunch of times, and I fell, and the ground was concrete with a really thin, coarse, shitty carpet. So I fall a couple times, and I do get down the stairs of the back staircase, and I'm about to go through a door, and it finally stopped me because it said, like, do not open or alarm will sound. One of those things where the bar itself to open the door was like a red emergency thing. So that finally snapped me out of it because, oh my God, imagine that if the whole fucking dorm had to come outside because of me. I would have been like, yeah, my bad, over here. So I stop, I go back to the bathroom, and I am bleeding everywhere because I fucking tore my hands and elbows and knees apart on that shitty, coarse concrete ground. I had these blisters. To this day, I still don't really have feeling in the palm of my hands right underneath my thumb. So I'm like looking at myself, and I got blood everywhere, and I'm in the bathroom now, and I reached to try to turn on the faucet, and I like literally couldn't even put my arm up to get to the faucet. I was like, that's not good. I go back into my dorm room, and at this point, my roommates are awake. It's probably like 5 a.m, and their lights are on, and they're looking at me like, what the fuck just happened? And like, credit to these guys, they like were like nursing me, like covering up the blood with bandages and shit, trying to get clothes on me while I called my parents to come get me. It was and that was it. I mean, I destroyed my shoulder. It was so bad. I think I fell, popped it out, and then fell and continued to hit it while it was dislocated. So I totally destroyed my shoulder. The doctor looking at the MRIs was like, were you in a car accident or did you get in was it a horrible like football accident? That's my number one. That ruined. I had shoulder surgery from that, and then I come back from shoulder surgery. First of all, I take like a semester off because my parents thought I was on drugs. People didn't believe my story. People thought that something must have happened, and I came up with this cover-up story. So I need the surgery anyway. I needed to drop out of some classes. I basically take the semester off. I come back the next semester, and people were like whispering. They're like, "Is that the kid? Is that the fucking wacko? Is that the crazy kid who like ran down the stairs?" Everyone thought I ran down the stairs. They probably thought I was gonna be the school shooter. They probably thought I was the weirdo, man. I was like I had this. It was like the bad boy, but not the bad boy. It was like, that's the weird boy. That's the fucking wacko. But so I go back to school, and I don't fucking do physical therapy. I'm a freshman in college. I barely even wore the sling. I was like, that's lame. Girls aren't gonna think I'm cool if I wear a sling. So I'm barely wearing that. I'm probably sleeping on it, drunk. Ruined my shoulder. Ended up needing 3 more surgeries over the years. Along with that, I like twisted and wrenched up my back. So I've got nerve damage in my bone, in my back with the vertebrae, bulging disc. I mean, legitimately, truly, genuinely ruined my life that night. All for like nothing. There was not even like a good reason or like even though that happened, this did happen. None of it. Nothing. Actually, the only thing that did happen is I wasn't able to have a job that summer. So I did classes over the summer, got ahead in my credits, graduated early, and did my 5-year MBA. So I got a bullshit, worthless MBA because I graduated ahead of time, all because I ruined my life sleepwalking. So long story short, kids, don't let your stress get you to the point where you're filming yourself talking about Crust Technologies for all your scientific needs, because the next step after that is you're going to run around goddamn town like a fucking lunatic. You might end up falling off a goddamn bridge. All right, let's get into our interview with Sam Morril right now as the Kevin Clancy Show Spike Tour continues. I had to book this guy to keep the Spike Tour rolling because nobody exemplifies it better than Sam Morril. He is one of the OG guys who said, fuck it, I don't need anybody. I'm just going to put this shit out myself. We had Mark Normand on last week. He is exactly the same guy. There's a reason why those dudes do a show together. There's a reason why those two guys are two of the funniest in New York City, because they just say, fuck it, I know I'm funny enough. I know that this show is going to kill, and so I'll do it myself. That's exactly what I'm doing here on this podcast. So it's perfect that we got together. This interview is brought to you by IP Vanish. Right now, it is dangerous out in the internet streets, man. You got to make sure that all of your data is safe and encrypted, and so scammers can't get it, hackers can't get it. You don't want to get your identity stolen. You don't want your bank information and your passwords and your social information to be hacked. So you got to make sure that you use a virtual private network. It also allows you to do some scamming of your own. When you use IP Vanish and you set up a VPN, the internet can't tell where you are physically located. So, for example, if you want to watch Netflix in a different country, you can use IP Vanish to make it look like you're watching in the UK. and then you can watch all the shows that are overseas over there. Or, for example, there's a pair of shoes that I want to buy from this website that's only available in the UK. For whatever reason, you can't buy it off the United States website. But if you shop on the UK, they got these blue suede shoes that are fucking dope, but it won't let me order because it can tell that I'm in America. So if I use IP Vanish and set up a VPN saying that I'm in the UK, it'll let me buy those shoes. So you can move in every which way you want. Real G's move in silence like lasagna using IP Vanish. You can also, like I said, keep everything safe and know that you're not getting hacked or stolen. And right now you get 65% off your monthly and annual subscriptions when you go to ipvanish.com/Clancy. That's ipvanish.com/Clancy. Keep your financial details, your personal info, and all online activities safe with IP Vanish. This interview is also brought to you by Roman. Now, we're all about doing it ourselves, right? Me, Sam, we just get the job done all on our lonesome, but sometimes you need a little help, right? Sometimes you can't rise to the occasion and do it all on your own with your God-given talent, your God-given equipment. You need a little bit of help. That's where Roman comes in. Right now, it's the summer of love. Everybody getting out there and getting their fuck on. We're probably getting out there a little bit too soon, but whatever. Everybody's back in the wild and they want to get their loving on. And what happens when you get out there and it's like, fuck, it's not working. That's where Roman comes in. They want to make sure that the summer of love lives up to the hype for you. And that's why they're out here fighting against erectile dysfunction. They are giving a 50% off your first month of ED medication deal right now. Half off if you get Viagra or Cialis or the generic copies of either of those two medications. You get 50% off. Plus, they've got the Roman swipes that help you keep your dick hard after you can get it up. So use Roman to help fight against erectile dysfunction. Everybody's got a couple cases of it here and there. Some of us worse than others, but everybody experiences some issues, and Roman can help you stop it. Go to getroman.com/barstool right now and get 50% off your first month of ED treatment. That's getroman.com/barstool. Sam Morril on the Spite Tour. Let's talk to him. All right, let's do it. Sam Morril's here. You are part of the Kevin Clancy Show Spite Tour.
Yes.
I had Mark on, and been going back and forth with some of the bookers here, and they were telling me that they're focusing on other shows, can't book, so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. And I started calling up all you guys, anybody I had a connection with who I thought was good and quality. So you're keeping the Spite Tour rolling.
Thank you. Thanks
and
for having me.
I feel like you can relate to that idea of like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself.
You have to, man.
Yeah.
Like that's what I realized. Like, I mean, I'm a broken record at this point, but you know, you're gonna wait for some streamer to take 6 months to be like, you know what? It's taken us 5.5 months to watch it. We had an internal discussion for 2 weeks. We're gonna come back with a no.
Yeah, I mean,
it's heartbreaking because I fall out of love with jokes.
Right.
I just get sick of jokes. So I'm kind of like, when I'm done with it, I'm done. Like, I don't want to overcook anything.
Right. I feel like that's a huge part of what you guys do is like when you burn your material or when you use it, or, you know, like if you're really in tune with the joke writing as guys like you are, I feel like you can't. Oh, like, you know, they're the guys who have like the same act for like a decade. I feel like you could never.
They're called alcoholics. You don't want to. It's funny, like you see those. You're like, yeah, you have to drink to do that. If you're doing the same act you got to be drunk, and it's probably fun. Like you just I mean, for that 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you're just going up and ripping it.
Right.
But also,
I mean, at that point you've perfected it or whatever, right? But also on some level you're thinking like, I'm a fucking hack, no?
Yeah, but you know, those people get when someone else is one of their bits. They lose their shit because now they have like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like if you just keep burning shit, you're like, that I'm really annoyed, but I'll get over it.
Yeah,
you know?
That is an interesting thought. I feel like, you know, with how much you can do by yourself now, if you just like the way I'm going to book my own guests or you're going to put out your own special or whatever. There's so many less
equally stressful things.
Well, you know what? In some way, it's like for the show, it was like I want the show
another job.
to be an interview-based show. So can I get some guests? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, that's gonna be a problem.
This is like your Charlie Rose right here. This is a cool setup, man.
It gives it a different feel, different vibe. We got a bunch of cameras on your ugly mug, make it feel special.
No, dude, you know, it's extra work, but it is satisfying in the end. But man, there is a limit to it. That's the other thing. Like YouTube, there's a limit. There's people that only watch, Netflix or only watch HBO or only watch Amazon, and you're just not going to reach those people.
Right.
Like, I had one guy, like, I'm on TikTok, dude. I'll do whatever. It helps, though. It moves to...
Absolutely, man.
I have friends...
It's infuriating how important it is, because I would love to say, I'm not doing it. But you gotta almost,
you got it.
You know?
I have friends who are like, they track your shit. I'm like, are you on Facebook? Are you on...
Of course they do.
Are you vaccinated? You're tracked.
Everybody's tracked.
They've
you got
got
the cell phone in your iPhone in your pocket, you're tracked.
This dude
any
won't...
of the shit, you're tracked.
He won't do TSA pre-check. It's like one of the things where I'm like, you're just making your life horrible.
Yes, right.
Just give up your freedom
like,
so you can...
What are they tracking that you are so concerned about?
You're not special.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Unless I don't know, maybe this dude is. Maybe he's hiding something.
He's a pedo.
Then you got to worry.
He was on Epstein's jet. This guy.
Yeah, if you're doing shit like that. But otherwise, it's like, who fucking cares, man? Let them track me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like it all helps, unfortunately. Like, but then there's people commenting on your TikTok, like, why is this guy only on TikTok? I'm like, well, you think I have like an exclusive with TikTok? Like, I have other shit out there. It's just this is where I'm posting clips.
Search the name on every other fucking thing, and you'll find it.
But that's the thing is like I think that's where their way of saying like this guy's underrated. See, so it is like weird, like a veiled compliment.
Yeah, well,
but
I feel like that kind of happens with everything, like with the special and YouTube and everything. A lot of it's complimentary. Some of it can come across backhanded. Some of it's like, because there is an element of like you were initially hoping it was on a streaming service.
Well,
and then it wasn't. It almost ended up being better.
At the time, it was kind of like Netflix or YouTube. I'm like, those are the only ones that move the needle. Like HBO is, got quality stuff, but I don't think that many people watch it.
Yeah, no.
Same with Amazon. Like I've never heard of a special that like blew up on Amazon, unless it's like Gaffigan, who's already huge.
Those guys can put it on anything. It has nothing to do with the platform.
But I was kind of just like, it's cool to sell it, but it's also cool to have control and to own it. Because I have stuff that I've given up the rights to early on where you just get fucked. Like you get fucked on royalties. You get where they do like some new contract you didn't know about.
Right.
And they're just like, we did this internally. And I was like, well, that's like not really artist friendly, but whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
So then you do stuff like that, or then you do, certain, like Netflix has the subscription-based model, but other people are still using ads. So if you're on like a Viacom, streamer like Comedy Central, it's like there's an ad every 2.5 minutes. Like even if you have cable, you pay for cable and they're like, here's a shitload.
You're still getting fucked, yeah.
It's crazy.
And then all that money's going to them. You're not seeing any of that, right?
We're the last generation that's going to even know what cable
commercial is.
It's going to be because Hulu's already dipping into like the live sports thing. So it's like I sound like I'm being paid by Hulu when I just said,
I swear.
Hulu's on the ground floor of this shit, man.
No, I remember 5, 6, whatever years ago, people talk about cutting the cord. And I was like, I remember saying, you are a fucking...
Well, you're a sports head. You're always tweeting about the Mets and stuff.
That's the problem.
But if not for sports, you're out.
100%. So I remember saying, if you're cutting the cord, you are like a fucking hippie who's doing this. You're a hipster Brooklyn asshole who's like, fuck cable, man. Like, I'm going against the man, And and that was back, though, when I was still watching, like, ESPN more and, the occasional, like... ABC Family, I don't know, like these little like channels that I just always had.
I watch Sports Center. It feels like watching like a horror movie from the '80s that I loved. You're just like, this is old school, man.
It's also, but it's like growing up when we did Sports Center used to be almost like a comedy show. You know what I mean? You had comedy duos and you had jokes and catchphrases.
You had original cast. It's like as the SNL original cast.
Yeah, it's like SNL.
They're not like you're not like bowling over laughing, but they're just funny and cool.
Just quality. Like I legit wanted to be those guys. Yeah. I remember there was one dude who I don't remember his name, but they did like an American Idol type contest to become a Sports Center anchor.
Oh my god.
And I think he did it for like a year. I don't think he ever like caught on. But I was like, I want to win that. And I was like, that is my dream. I went to college and did, at Fordham, I did WFUV, I did like sports radio. And it obviously didn't become that, but I took some of those skills and it kind of all came together. But I was like, that was inspired by the Stuart Scotts and even the Craig Kilborns back in the day.
Oh, Kilborn was great. They're all great.
All those duos, Steve Levy, Dan Patrick, all that shit.
Wingo and Eisen.
And there was even a couple generations, like There was really early ones, but then even Wingo, Kenny Mayne was a little bit later.
Greg, Kenny Mayne's classic.
And so they had some sort of machine going where it was like, we're finding the right talent and we're like teaching them or grooming them, whatever. But then it just became, now it's just totally plug and play, interchangeable. There's no
unless you
there's no
break
personality.
through. Well, yeah, or there's too much personality. Where it's like I'll take the Stephen A. Max Kellerman personalities in news, but in sports. But once you get those in news, you're like, oh, this is bound to happen.
Yes.
We're fucked now. You know?
Yes.
Like,
well, even when Stephen A. was trying to talk about Ohtani, and they got into the whole like cultural, they got into language barriers.
That was
and stuff.
rough, yeah.
And it was like, you're good at yelling at the camera for 30 seconds, and it's entertaining when you're talking about the Cowboys. When you got to talk about some nuanced shit, you're not the guy, or this maybe you are the guy, but
that's
it's
a
not
tough
the
one.
format
Yeah, that
for
was
it.
a tough one. Yeah, like I had lunch with Eisen once because we both did like a bit part in Billions, and we
Right.
We had lunch just during the day. It was me, Rich Eisen, and Bob Menery. I don't know if you know that guy. The guy's hilarious.
Yep.
And we're just like in some Chinese restaurant. Eisen's telling us the origin story of how he got Sports Center. And he just said, "Oh, I wanted to be on it." So all these guys were like local news guys,
Right?
And they broke. So Eisen.
How did he say? Was there like something he did that?
Yeah, well, he was watching SportsCenter the night before, and he's like, "Well, that was a funny line, but I think I would have said this." And then the audition was just last night SportsCenter.
Oh wow!
And he killed it
What are the
because
chances of that?
he just watched it. And was like, I would have done this. I would have. So yeah, I mean, really cool guy.
I remember I got a job a summer job working at it was on the NYMEX exchange. They traded natural gas and oil and shit. I had a family friend who's like this brilliant savant trader, and he just wanted to get me a job working as like a clerk. I was in so over my head, but right before the interview, there was a book that they told me to read before the interview. An entire book, Sam. I can't read an entire book, but so I read none of it. But 2 minutes before the interview, I just flipped to the middle of it, and I was just like, I read a page, and like the main question was that thing. No, it was good,
hilarious.
and I was like, I got the job.
Good for you, not for the company.
Well, right. And then, so I get this one question that is like, the guy even said to me, he goes, well, there's only one way to get that. You must know it. Like, you got it. Thinking,
You're like, oil on whales, obviously. That's the move. And they're like, this guy.
Okay, this guy's a genius. The next question, he just goes like, what's 63 times 47? Just wanted to test my mental math. And I go, hang on a second, I'm not that great at mental math. And he was like, that's what we're testing here,
Mental
dude.
math.
Maybe keep that to yourself. But yeah, man. So like the serendipity of that kind of shit for it to fall in place like that. But so I think of those guys as almost like borderline. I don't want to say like a comic because there's not a whole.
But they
routine,
get it and they appreciate it.
They have
even Mike Breen used to like work for Imus. I remember I met Mike Breen once, and he's another one of he's like to me like the classic broadcaster.
Yes.
Still. I love Mike Breen.
Voice.
He looks like Roger Sterling from Mad Men. He's a handsome guy, and he's just cool.
Silver Fox type look.
Totally, the golden voice.
And the awareness to have a catchphrase and a go-to.
You can't do better than bang.
Bang.
Unless you're calling a mass shooting. Then that's that's the problem. But
yeah, you're gonna run into some issues there. Bang. But like that, all of those guys, as cool as the other side of the pillow, and
Stuart
Fuego.
Scott. Dude, that like hurt my soul when Stuart Scott died. I remember just being at like some fucking Midwest airport.
So where were you when moment? Yeah.
And you're just like, oh,
yeah,
you're like my childhood, right? You're just
all those guys. I mean, I remember I lived outside of Philly for a while, and they started school real early. Like we had to be in like at like 8, so I was up, in the 6 o'clock hour to get ready and get there. And I remember I would watch SportsCenter first thing. There was times I would get up early enough. SportsCenter wasn't on yet. It was like a exercise fucking aerobics thing from like.
Oh wow!
And
that's like the reverse SNL Apollo thing, where you're like, oh, this is the thing I won't watch before.
Exactly that. So I remember that being like the morning routine. You watch it like 10 times in a row,
dude. Or if you're at a bar drunk, how many times you just start knowing the highlights?
Yes. Yep.
You're like shit.
I remember watching Malice at the Palace. I watched drunk. Like the rerun.
My buddy Alex English, who's a comic, he's from Detroit. He was at the game.
Wow.
As a kid, which is like.
That's one of like, if you could, what's one sporting event you could go to? Like if you could be live at? I would want to be on the other side of the fucking court. I don't want to be in the mix. But imagine being there live for that.
Well, the best part is, I forgot if it was Artest or Steven Jackson. One of them in the locker room was, "Do you think we're gonna get in trouble?"
Yes, yes.
Literally, like just duffing fans.
I think
did we
Ron
fuck
Artest
up?
was like, I don't,
But Ron Artest is so lovable. Like if you see, I don't know if you saw that doc on him, but you're just like
the Meta World Peace stuff.
He's just such a lovable guy.
He
He's
has
got mental health stuff. I think like people don't realize that. Like, and then it's kind of like. You kind of feel complicit. You feel kind of guilty when you're watching these old clips. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to sit out the season and do a rap album. You're like, this is clearly something's
wrong.
missing. And we're all laughing at it. Because the problem is he is funny.
It. Yes.
But yeah, man, I mean, shit, I wrote a show, like an animated show, and he was one of the characters. Because it was like AA for people who have been canceled, and he was the sponsor. Because I thought he'd be a great sponsor. Like I love Ron Artest. I feel like he would be able to laugh at himself. Yeah. But also the character was kind of wise, which I feel like he must be kind of wise.
Well, if you call yourself Meta World Peace and all that, you gotta have some like nuggets of wisdom there for you.
But he was a great player, dude.
He was awesome.
That guy
well, for that era too.
And the Knicks passing him for fucking Frederick Weiss.
Don't get me started, man.
The dude that Vince Carter put his nutsack
dick
in.
on, yeah. A little vindication for Team France beating the USA team. I mean, that's.
Well, you see articles where it's like the team doesn't like Popovich, and you're like, well, one of you's got to fucking bend, because I don't want to lose. It's funny when you hear Damian Lillard like these dudes ain't the same.
Yeah, it's different out there. I mean, at what point do you put your bullshit aside?
It's like fucking the Americans in Vietnam. We're like, they're different, dude. These dudes.
Yeah, they come back home. It's not the same. They weren't the same. They weren't. At what point do you let you gotta like swallow your ego a little bit so you're not? It's kind of like an international embarrassment.
Popovich has never coached. Like he's always made really good players great, but he's never made really great
Superstars.
players. Like except for like Duncan, and Duncan's the most malleable player of all time.
He was the most coachable, easiest player, superstar to ever handle, and then he took foreigners and made them into stars.
But would Popovich win with like prime Iverson? You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I don't think so.
Because Iverson already got like everything out of it. Like he was 6 feet and he was lighting dudes up.
And Iverson's not like gonna bend to Popovich, like you said. Like he had the right guys who bought into the San Antonio way. It's
he had
like
foreign
the Patriots
guys,
way. Yeah,
and he's losing to foreign players.
I mean, it's funny how that
fucked,
works.
Right?
Yeah, all comes back around ironically. But especially nowadays, it's like these guys don't want to be told like what to do and how to act and all that shit. It's not
but that's on Durant.
Man.
Durant's got to be like, we got to listen to coach, even if you don't like it, or you got to be like, hey, or you're the guy who's got to be like, hey, coach, what if we did this? Because the thing is, like, we don't play defense, man.
No.
And also
they just shoot threes. They don't really play like actual basketball, and they don't play defense.
And like, dude,
they don't. I mean,
I have so much respect for KD's game, and like, and I love Lillard, and like, I like these guys, man. How do you not like Drew Holiday? He's like we got him for one game. Maybe that helps us.
I was gonna say he like hops on the plane. He should be the one guy who's like gassed, and he was like playing harder and better than everybody. But maybe he's just
he's fired.
Because I think what happens too is we lose. We lost in like 2004 in Athens.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, fuck that. That can't happen again. And then we dominated for the next 4 Olympics.
But we have to go to our lowest to get our pride up.
So now I think this Olympics is gonna suck.
I remember Puerto Rico
next
lighting
one we're
us
gonna
up.
fucking kill.
Do you remember like Carlos Arroyo on Puerto Rico? I'm like, this dude looks like AI.
Calderon, and they're fucking out there, because they're playing for pride in their country and all that shit. They're playing real basketball, and then you get these guys going over there like, we'll give it some, we'll give it a try.
Well, you also had Kobe. Kobe was our leader, and Kobe like
Kobe and Carmelo were like, Melo's a.
If Melo was our 6th man.
Yeah, I mean
that's insane.
I know.
Try Melo.
Those teams were Dream Team-esque, and they were like we need to
LeBron
put
and
like
Wade
the rest of the world in check,
Yeah.
And right now I don't think they're next time they like.
But it was still close. I mean, like we barely beat some of those. I mean,
well, international's it's just getting much better. It's like there's NBA players from all over the world that are now going back home and they play
back in the
better
day, Slovenia would have been like Luka and then Melania Trump or something. It's like they had nobody. But no, now it's like these teams are competitive. They're like they're pretty solid, and Spain and France, like my boy Frank Ntilikina didn't even play. But
dude, I said that I was like, I'm done with the Frank hive with Knicks fans. If he's not getting burned on the French team in the Olympics,
no. I think he was hurt, wasn't he?
Is he? I mean, I don't think he's going to be a huge piece of that team.
I just love that. He's just so adorable. Those little eyes, man. I still love Frankie.
I know it's tough because he came out like he was cold off the bench. But when they were like, all right, let's put you in for defensive purposes, and Trae Young just ate him up on that. I mean,
Trae Young ate everybody up, though.
Well, it is a tough to be like, hey, you haven't played all day? Go stop the hottest guy on the planet. But
Trae Young's, I hate to say it, but he's nice.
And he's got that fucking swagger, too. You know what I mean? Shushing the crowd. I
was at game 1.
Oh, yeah?
It was, I literally bought tickets in the air. I was coming back from Salt Lake. I was like, if we take off, I'm buying tickets.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that feeling from the Knicks fans was, some people were kind of clowning it, being like, look, Knicks fans are acting like they won the title just because they made the playoffs. Like, listen, we've been through a lot, man.
Yeah,
so
dude, have you seen the movie
this.
Eddie? It ends with, like, the happy ending is us making the
playoffs. That's
it's
it.
not us winning the championship.
Title.
They're like,
very realistic.
You're one of 16 teams.
Making the playoffs in the NBA is like the least of all accomplishments in sports.
It's not.
And we were throwing a fucking party for it.
But we were a 4 seed. I mean, it was a cool seed. And people picked us last, and Randall
unexpected.
And we're young too.
But I also, what I don't like, if what's a good example? Well, I mean, even like the Bucks and the Suns and these teams, if the Kings make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And their fan base goes wild, everybody be like, what a great story. Like the Kings fans finally made it. But New York does it. It's like you guys are fucking losers. And I
even
get why.
Barkley is happy
higher.
for us, dude.
Yeah, that's why you know it's bad.
That's how you know it's bad.
Chuck,
yeah,
that's a great squad.
What?
Charles, Kenny, Shaq, EJ.
Yeah, they're the best.
I think that has old school sports
and
center
Adam Lefko and D-Wade I like on there, and Candace Parker for the Tuesday. I like them too. I think
that's like you get the good basketball talk, you get the comedy from the other guys.
I love them, dude.
That to me is like the closest thing to that old school sports center feel.
You're right.
Where, it is like, I'm not really listening for the basketball analysis. I'm looking for, kind of the banter and the jokes. Those guys are podcasting.
Yeah,
it just
before
happens
podcasting.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well, it's like a warm blanket. If you're on the road, like that Thursday late show, I'll get off stage. I'll be back in my hotel room, and I'm like,
on TNT.
I'm like, thank God.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the stuff I needed too for cable. I needed like the TNT games, little comedy here and there, and now. To tie that all back to what we were saying earlier, now you can cut the cord and it's like reasonable,
For sure.
The only thing I can't still handle though, even with the live sports, it's like a 20-second delay, and I can't, knowing that I
that you're
hop on
behind
Twitter and just see the answer, see what happened already. It just eats me alive, man. So,
when you're texting with a friend and he gets it before you,
and
right?
I just feel it buzz, and I'm like, that's either like a home run or a strikeout. It's gonna be one or the other, and I don't fucking know
yet. I love
yet.
how vocal a Mets fan you are, man. I appreciate like hardcore New York fans.
Mental
for sure.
illness. It's a mental illness.
I
know you're a
Yankees
Knicks guy.
I'm a Yanks guy, but like, it's one of those things like Knicks are at the top of the list because they have like I'm a Yankees.
Well, you're
Knicks
a New York
and a Giants
Jew,
fan.
right? You got to be a Knicks fan. That's
but
top of the
Giants beating Brady was kind of like I'm good for life. I didn't even need that second one. I was kind of like I'm set.
I know you
the
guys.
The second one I
so
felt greedy. I was like,
that.
did we just beat Brady twice?
Beating Brady twice is one of those things. Brady went on to win so many more after that. That he's bulletproof, whatever. But when you're in a bar and you're talking shit with a Patriots fan or whatever, and you can always just go like, got
Eli.
twice.
Oh, is he not a Hall of Famer? That's weird that the best quarterback ever got beaten twice by a non-Hall of Famer.
Yep.
So, yeah, I love that.
The best thing about being a Giants fan, obviously just winning the titles, sure, but they're not bothered by the Patriots. That is invaluable. Because Jets fans,
Boston fans,
and the rest of the league
Boston
in general.
fans, if you're like a 20-year-old Boston kid, you're the most insufferable human being of all time because you've just won everything.
Ever, man. There was a kid, he was known as like Sign Kid on the internet. He had a sign up in like 2013 maybe that said like, I'm 9 years old and I've seen 8 parades, something obnoxious like that. And I saw this kid. Everybody sent it to me.
That's brutal.
And I nicknamed him Patrick McGillicuddy. I was like, what, you're a little Irish kid? He had a red hair. I was like, you little Irish kid from Boston, Patrick McGillicuddy. And I was like, fuck you. I went off on this kid. And then they win again and again. And then the Red Sox win again. And so this kid is, every year there's a parade. And I'm watching him go from like a little child to like a grown man.
Horrible
And every
human.
year I'm like, fuck this kid. At one point, I think even CNN posted it, and they used the made-up name. They were like, this is Patrick McGillicuddy.
McGillicuddy, you started it?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And I hated him. And I think actually I've deemed it kind of, Brady left, and I was like, it's the McGill. You know what it was? So here's what happened. He got old enough that I was like, do you want to do an interview? Because like he was like 18. And I was like, I'm not going to interview like a child, but you want to talk about like your little Boston fandom? And he turned me down and kind of big timed me. And I was like, this is the curse of McGillicuddy. And they haven't really won since then. So I'm like, yeah, you did this. You
Damn, the new Bambino curse?
I'm hoping. The curse of McGillicuddy. We'll see.
Boston is just so, they've been so
But yeah, he was that
spoiled.
obnoxious kid. You know?
Yeah, I
He
remember.
didn't know, you don't know any sports adversity.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about being a Knicks fans. Like I think that's why Knicks fans like we're delusional, but there is like a sadness that people love, and we do get behind our teams. Like I grew up a Yankees fan, and like I was 10 years old when they won a championship. I was so happy. You know those teams were awesome. Like with
I can't even imagine if I mean, rooting for them must have been so much
young
fucking fun.
Jeter and
That
Tino, Posada. Well, that was Girardi on the first one.
It dictates who you are as a person, you know? Like, what kind of kid you are. You grew up in New York City in the middle of the Yankees dynasty when you're in your formative years. And even the Knicks, like, never winning the title, but 90s Knicks.
Well, the 90s Knicks
Ewing
ruled, man.
Oh, I mean, I love the 90s Knicks. The late 90s Knicks was really it for me.
Oh,
like the
Spree,
LJ, Allen
yeah.
Houston Spree.
LJ's a really cool dude. He did the when we had the show on MSG, he did it a couple times, and he was like the dude that I remember Hassam Minhaj took me to a game once, and we're sitting courtside. It's like a row of comics. It's like Hassam Minhaj, me, Roy Wood Jr., Neil Brennan. It's just like a row of comics. And LJ just saw me and remembered me and runs over and hugs me. And
You must have felt so fucking cool.
Roy Wood grew up a Hornets fan, so Roy Wood was like, "What the fuck?"
Wow,
but then
Grandmama.
John Stewart went up to Roy and was like, "I loved your new special." I was like,
so
"You
you
win, you win." But
But I mean, the 4-point play, like that. But those, you know, and I think the reason I'm so fucking, at least my online persona, if you will, is I'm bitter and angry and skeptical and cynical, and I'm always
But
like,
the
fuck
Mets
this
are
and fuck
awesome
that.
this year, dude.
Well, they're finally getting there, and it's funny because people they literally have not seen this side of me. I've been on the internet really, so I've been doing Barstool 11 years now. People have seen me go from like a kid, single guy, I got married, had kids, got a divorce. They've seen me go from a no-name blog to hopefully this big company, money coming in. So they've seen it all, but the one constant has been like, I'm a loser sports fan. And now, like, God willing, with the Mets getting good, I'm showing some confidence in them and positive. And people
it's
are
not
like,
just like,
I don't
people
know how to
think you-
handle this, dude. This is not who you are.
Well, people think you need like a World Series ring to like watch the team win a championship. But for me, I just need them to at least lose gracefully. Like if we're in the hunt,
Don't be an embarrassment.
exactly. Like just lose the right way. And the Mets are cool right now. Like they really.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is there's a cool factor where it's like
DeGrom is
you're
like
not
the
in
best pitcher I've seen in forever. Like, this guy's incredible.
I mean, he's one of the best literally of all time. You know, you can wear a Mets hat without being a fucking joke now. And that's important because I grew up in the Bronx as a Mets fan. And so my
wow.
whole life, I'm like ready to fucking, you know what I mean? I got these kids just rubbing it in my
But
face.
the Piazza teams and like Al Leiter, those are like cool players. Like,
But
so
you
that-
know what? Even that, the worst thing possible happens, the Subway Series.
Right.
And I was like, this is for all the marbles. Because if we somehow win, it's like beating Brady as a Giants fan. You know, it's like I'll have that over your head forever. But they get smoked. And
Yeah.
so it was like,
And
you guys
I'm a
just ran
Yankees
the
fan,
dick
but
on my ass.
I loved Piazza. I loved Al Leiter was just like the man.
Yeah,
to
they
me.
were.
But then
they
Mel
were-
Rojas would come in and just blow
Blow
every
it.
fucking. He like cost Al Leiter probably a couple Cy Youngs. You know?
Absolutely.
But you know.
But I remember I was in high school.
Yeah.
Mets lose the Subway Series, and I went down with the ship. I wore all my Mets gear to school the next day. Just like fuck it. I'm a real fan through and through. I'm gonna
respect
prove
it.
it. And this guy was clowning. I was getting clowned the whole day. And this dude, I was dating a girl at the time, and he said, we'll just call her Ashley. And he goes, he was making fun of me, and then he just goes, yeah, and tell Ashley I'm gonna put it in her butt. And I was like,
Ooh.
and he's older than me, he could beat the shit out of me
Excessive.
if he wanted.
Excessive.
And I was just like,
Yeah.
but it all because of sports though. And I'm like, that's why I think it really determines who you are. Because I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, you know, like I can't even do anything about this. I just got cocked. I got so dominated, and it's all in the name of what team I
but I
root
think
for.
there's like a loyalty. Like you're a loyal person if you're a loyal. Like that's what I try to explain. Like I will not. You know, I will be good to you as a friend because I'm a loyal sports. So
Look at what I do with this team here. Yeah.
But
And
I
you
mean-
go down with the shit, man.
you know, yeah, the Mets really. I remember when Roger Clemens would just beam Piazza in the head, and you're like, how do I fucking root for this guy? This is like, this is insane.
Such a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, I don't think
Roger
Clemens has got a good rep.
He
as a
is.
human.
I mean, roid rage to the max.
Yeah.
Just a bad person.
Like throwing you're known for your fastball, and you throw it into someone's head.
I mean, right in their fucking. He's lucky. You
coulda killed him.
dude. Yeah. And when he threw the bat at him, and he goes, "I thought it was the ball." It's like, well, you shouldn't be throwing the ball at him either, you fucking dick. It doesn't
Yeah,
even make
no,
any
he was
sense.
nuts.
But yeah, what would you have? Do you think about like? I think about what would I have done as a kid if I wasn't a sports fan? Like, what if I just played music?
yeah, maybe
what
we
if I
would
liked
have had
theater?
a skill.
Yeah, what if I had a tangible
Maybe I'd know how to
skill?
dance or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I was a theater kid who could dance and sing.
If I
and
didn't
I
know,
might have got
like,
made fun
yeah.
of during those days, but now I'd be a reasonable person that I wouldn't have my happiness attached to something I absolutely cannot control.
And it gets weirder the older you get, where you're like, make that play, child.
Yes.
You know,
when you're older than way older than I mean, LeBron is like my age, and I remember in my dorm room my freshman year, we all got together to watch it in like a little tiny dorm room TV because it was like this game one most important thing in like basketball since MJ, and I'm sitting there thinking like I'm here, and he's there.
Yeah.
We're the same fucking age.
Yeah, but you
And
can do that
now
with a
it's-
lot of people.
Huh?
You know, I mean, people were doing that with like Obama. You know,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can do that with a lot of
for sure.
But the thing is also
Once you hit a certain age, you're doing it with everybody who's important. You know?
Yeah.
Billionaires are younger than you, and
it's getting young with TikTok and YouTube. It's getting younger. You're like, I'm here, and he's 18, and then some fucking
hurts.
his house has waterfalls and shit. You know,
Are you? Do you see that? Are you like? Because comedy is a grind. We were just talking about
yeah,
when you said you were on the road for a couple weeks and now you're finally back home.
Yeah.
And I was asking like, what makes you? I look at you guys, your schedule, your tour dates, and it's like
Yeah.
the 21st, the 23rd, the 25th, the 29th, the 30th, and you're here, there, all over the place. And I'm thinking, I guess if I don't do comedy, but I do the podcast. But the podcast is new every time, so I don't know if it's going to be good, bad, or otherwise.
Well, that's a different
when you
type
got
of
your
stress, for
routine,
sure, yeah.
When you got your routine and it's like good, are you just like, all right, I'll do this like 6 times a week. Let's make as much fucking money as we can.
No, because yes, but there's also like, how do I make this better? Because I just was in Nashville. I was talking to Nate Bargatze, who's a great comic, about this for like hours. We were talking about how like, one of the things we talked about is like when you write a new hour, I think it's like you have like, you almost start with like, you get to like 50 minutes or something, and you keep chopping it off. And you're like editing as you go. You're like, that one's. It's like a baseball lineup or a basketball where you're like, this player or this joke is not pulling its weight.
Interesting.
You're out. So then you keep chopping it off, and then you get to a place where you're like, all right. Then you kind of eventually start moving back up, but you just like it's very hard. I feel like I started with like 50, and now I'm at like 38.
So that's after you put out a
minutes.
special or something like that, and you start again.
Yeah, you
build your
start
way up to
again.
50, trim it down, and then hopefully build, back to that.
Because you
hour again.
overwrite to see where the jokes are, yeah, and then, but then, yeah, you go through this place where, I don't know, I feel like my brain shuts off, where I just can't write new material, really.
Is that when you know like it's time to do a special? Like this is it. This is my.
This one, I mean, I kind of rushed the rooftop one a little bit just because it was a pandemic special and I wanted something out.
That was cool. That was very cool, by the way.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was fun, but then the one before it was much more honed because I was in clubs as opposed to working out jokes in parks and roofs.
Rooftops, yeah.
So this one is going to be, I think, really tight again but I just need the time because you want to make sure that it's weird how certain jokes just like kill some places and others they do fine, but like you want to make sure the jokes kind of all hit. So like I'm Oklahoma City, I'm in Madison,
So
Wisconsin,
is that what it is? It's
Nashville.
like, is it more about the locations almost? Where it's like, all right, this plays in New York, but if I'm going to put it on a special for like the world to consume, I got to make sure it plays here,
you
there.
want to make sure
all
the
over.
jokes are kind of bulletproof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think like
interesting. Never thought of it
I
that
think the
way.
best comics. That's why their jokes. Well, some people get caught up and you're like, well, that joke killed in Brooklyn. I'm like, yeah, because you said fuck Trump. You got to have a punchline.
And 99% of the country, here is not going to
Well,
fucking, enjoy that.
You can do a Trump joke, just make it work, like for
Yeah.
everybody. I think that to me that's the fun of the joke. But and also, you just need. It's nice to have that when you're like almost talking to these execs who live in like these mansions in LA or whatever, and they're just like, we don't think that that one's gonna work. And I'm like, really? Because I tried it in literally every city in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it does work.
I'm pretty sure it plays. Yeah.
But so I feel like we're kind of doing the groundwork, and that gives you like a sensibility for what plays in the country. I never wanted to be. I want to be someone who works every market. I want to be someone who like is an entertainer.
For sure.
Who
For
can.
sure.
So that was.
How many shows in a row, let's say, I don't know the right way to describe this, but how long will you do the same exact set? Is it like just one night you'll have a new joke or taking a joke out 2 nights later? Or like for this 2-week stretch, I'm going to do the exact same routine?
I get burnt out. I really, because I do so many sets. So I think I start to hate the jokes, and I really start to hate them. And I think that's when I know, like I kind of do that to
That's
myself.
hard because that's what people want to hear though.
I want
You know?
to put it. It's like a pressure I like to put on myself because I'm like, well, if I start to hate the act, it'll force me to write new shit.
Yes.
Like I've talked to some
Yeah.
guys who are like, I don't tour till I have 45 new minutes, and I'm like, well, if I don't tour, I'll never have 45 new minutes.
Right.
I need the road to write. So,
But is it like being a band that has a hit song that's like people want to hear that song? You hate it now.
I don't
but if
think
you go
I
to the
have- I don't think
concert
I have
and
a hit.
don't. But that's not true. You know there's
There are jokes that people
yours,
will
and
scream
stories
at,
yours
but they're
that
jokes.
kill.
Yeah, but here's something that'll never happen to Billy Joel. Play Piano Man. He's like, I don't remember how to do that one. People will
really?
yell out bits of mine. I'm like, it's like an 8-minute bit. I've blocked it out to make room for new
Interesting.
bit. I don't know how to. Like people will scream out like White Knight. I'm like, I can't retell that joke at this point.
Interesting,
I
though.
can't retell.
You don't think you could retell it the same way, or you literally forget the details?
I would if I listened to it a few times, I could probably get it. But
wow,
like,
I never thought of that.
But like, yeah,
I mean,
no, it's-
I do that with blogs. Like we've written so many blogs over the years, and people will come up and be like, "You remember that blog you wrote about like this thing?" I'm like, "No." There are times I've read a blog and got to the end and been like, "Oh shit, this was me," and I had no fucking idea.
Wow, yeah.
Because it's like I wrote probably tens of thousands of them over my my career.
People, I'm working on this documentary with the guy, Matt Salkis, who did my rooftop thing, and he sent me a joke of mine from it. I'm like, I don't remember writing that joke.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like, I was like, oh.
And that's not that long ago. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it
not
was-
like one
it
from
was-
the early days of your career.
And it was a few months ago,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was kind of like, oh shit, I forgot about it. Like, I remembered, I just forgot. I guess I just stopped telling it.
Right.
I didn't think it was that funny, I guess.
I mean but that's what I mean. Like your bar for funny is probably one of the highest bars.
I don't know if that's true, because
No?
I put out a lot of shit. I mean, I definitely will I do feel like the need for content has hurt everyone's acts. You know, the need.
Because you have to put so much out on
unless you're one of the-
TikTok and Instagram and like that.
Yeah, unless you're
Yeah.
one of the chosen people, and I don't mean Jews. I mean like the people by the industry who are the chosen people.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was gonna say a lot of
No.
sometimes there's overlap. But
no. I do think the people who are like just out of the gate get specials.
yeah.
And have been like they don't have to burn stuff the way. So I feel like I've been judged sometimes by those people where they're like
People who got like
yeah, the people that
hand in
got
hand.
shit
Yeah.
out of the gate, and they're like, you just put out so much, and I'm just like, yeah, this is how you have your way of making it, and I have my way of making it.
I
and
would be if I were you.
Yeah.
And some of these people who just got like handed some shit
Yeah.
were talking down to me about comedy. I'd be
Yeah.
like, fuck you.
Yeah, I think that's the vibe.
Okay,
for
good.
Sure. Yeah,
Because
I
I
think,
mean, like if you have a way in, you blow up on the internet or something, and you get an opportunity. Like that's the game, you know. Like
Yeah.
I said, people were mad about Logan Paul getting to fight Floyd Mayweather. He built himself this audience, and he's using it. Or Addison Rae doing that UFC thing. Like she deserves it because she got 100 million fucking followers. But in certain industries, in certain ways, it's like it's like a super team as well. What Giannis just did with the Bucks is more important than a
cooler,
super
yeah.
team ring.
Yeah.
So like if you get handed a Netflix special because you went viral on TikTok or something, cool. But don't come talk to me about like joke writing and
Yeah,
material
no.
and shit because I'm doing it the real way.
I think there's also they have that insecurity too. I think everyone's dealing with that shit. Everyone's like
You gotta know, right? You gotta know. If that was me, I would be so open about it. In my act, I'd be like, I know that, I don't have a 25-year resume behind me and I'm not like the best in the game yet, but like I'm here, blah, 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 blah.
But there's
I would
also a
almost
lot
own
of
up to
people.
it
But there's
because
also a lot of
know.
people who got specials out of the gate who do the social media thing because they know it's important. Because they know they have to stay relevant. So I do think yeah, I definitely got some judgment for self-releasing specials from comics who are like
That's
who are
the
friends
most
of mine.
fucking honorable thing to do.
I think they were kind of like, yeah, but a lot of people, if you've had a lot of success your whole career, you don't realize that you have to circumvent the industry. I think there are people who have had so much where they're just like, you're not
Why
going to
you're
get
doing this?
paid.
Yeah.
You're not going to get paid $400,000 for a special you put out. And I'm like, well, you make the money on the road. Like, they don't understand that you have to, get creative with how you release the special as well
Right.
as just so.
So they just
and
kind of
of
lose
course,
touch with
well, if
the
you
world,
just, if you
basically?
just know HBO and Netflix specials your whole career or whatever, you have a marketing machine behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So and you not only have the marketing machine, you have prestige behind you. And I think a lot of people, who go the YouTube route or who go social media, do other stuff, you're kind of sacrificing that prestige for eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that. Because I think to me it's like, well, working it means I'm a comic. Like
Yeah,
the fact that
definitely.
I can work the clubs I want to work on the road and people come out. To me, that's more exciting than being like, you know, oh shit, here's a Webby nomination or whatever.
Right,
like, you know,
right.
Or, you know,
I got a bunch of views on this TikTok. It's like, all right, cool, but I can go sell these clubs out. I can work in any city. People physically come out.
Of course, it does hurt your ego a little bit at a certain point, but you're also kind of like, what did sure, the industry gets things right. Of course they do. They also get things wrong. It's just, that's just how it goes.
So that, it sounds to me like you're like at peace with.
Yeah,
but was there a point where you were just like, fuck this whole industry?
Oh, yeah,
because like
I think every post of mine was like, eat shit. I got this many views. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, I said the same thing with Mark. Like,
Norman and I guys talked about this a lot.
You guys have the goods. Like, there are definitely people who are like, fuck the system, fuck Netflix, fuck Amazon. I'll prove it. I put it out on my own, and it's like, well, you did like, I don't know, 100,000 views, which is good. It's fine. Yeah. But you guys are, it's like, you proved the industry wrong. You have enough views that it was like, you clearly got this wrong.
But then I'm sure a lot of them are still like, we're still good.
Definitely.
You know? So
they're not losing sleep over it, but it is, from your point of view, you can say, you got it wrong.
Well, I think Mark Norman, Joe List, I think our specials were quality. I think they're great comics. I think, so I think comics, it gives comics hope maybe, that they're like, well, maybe we don't feel picked, but we can do our own thing. So
I said you guys should make the Avengers of like real comics. you guys have like a 5-man
I think I'm Hawkeye
team.
of that group.
Who would be who's like the Captain America of that group?
Don't know.
I'm not just blowing smoke. I feel like you were the first one that I know that really did it that well.
No, Schultz did it before me, and
Did he?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Schultz was long before me. Yeah,
but he was using YouTube, but I feel like
I think Schultz did a special on there as well.
Yeah. All right. So you guys being the
we kind of, it was funny. I mean, we kind of went the other. Like Schultz went from YouTube to Netflix, and I feel like we all went from like the other way. Like Mark and I and Joe, like we all sold our specials out of the gate.
Right.
Like Joe did a half hour on Netflix. Mark and I did our specials on Comedy Central. We all did half hours on Comedy Central, and then we're kind of like, well, people are watching Andrews. They're not watching ours. You know?
Well, there's always going to be some level of like just better or more popular or whatever.
Everyone's got their own route, right?
But it's working for you guys in the sense. Are you going to turn around and Schultz was like, Netflix is dead, fuck it, and then Netflix comes around with the price.
But I love that. I love that he did that. I think that was great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can say like fuck the man, but when the man comes along with a big check, you're like, okay, let's do it. And there's no shame in that.
But he still got the other stuff.
Yes.
That's the cool thing. Is like he's like, now
doing it.
For him, it's like, well, now I exist in this other world.
Right.
So I'm just,
and he also probably has more leveraging and negotiating power than anybody. It's like, yeah, I'll do it for you.
But I think it's cool to do it all. I like that. I also think, you just have to keep going, and wherever the work lives, it lives. But like, I don't do this for where the work lives. I do this for the work.
Yeah, you keep doing like the work is your. You actually like the work. I think that's the difference.
No, I
like
love
the
what I
craft.
do.
You like the joke writing. Because if you don't really love it, and the industry is kind of fucking you or putting up roadblocks where you're not really deserved, it's like. I don't think you could persevere. I think you would stop.
It is like winning a lottery ticket. I think people don't realize that. Like, when people are like, "Why didn't I sell this?" And you're like, it's almost like winning the lottery. Like, how many people get shit that quickly? It's hard.
That's why I think you guys are the sickest fucks. I think comics are so
you better
deranged.
love this. You better love this, or you better learn to love it, or you better do something else. Because it is like I think of like the amount of flights I've been on. Like my neck will never get better.
No,
like I have neck problems, and like it'll never heal because I just am on a flight every week
forever. I mean,
and you're lugging bags,
literal things like that are physically going to like change you and harm you for the rest of your life. For this
I see dudes who are like
forget about mentally.
Half.
Forget about.
You see the dudes in New York who are like bent in half. I'm like, that's a comic. Like whether
I can see you coming a mile away because you're literally like devolving back into like a primate. You know what I mean?
Dude,
it's like de-evolution.
Well, don't you think about that when you're on your phone all the time?
Oh my God,
like, we're the first generation of people to do this all the time.
Well, I mean, there are like kids who have like they're growing an extra bone in their neck.
I know.
Like millennials have a little fucking bone spur.
Thank God they don't read, or they'd really be like this.
I think you guys I always try to compare it to a little bit of what we've done.
You built something big here, man. This is very cool. People taking notice. I think
I wrote a blog. I wrote my own blog where Josh Potter, he was like, as I was talking about, he was kind of like, it's almost like you're doing open mics, like writing a blog and you just put it out there, and that's your version of an open mic where you're working out jokes and crafts, and I was just building the audience. I did the blog for free. I did podcasts when there was nobody listening, so I was just doing it for the love of the game, all that. But I did it for like, I wrote the blog alone for like a year, 9 months, then Barstool came and picked me up. I did the podcast when it was when there was no money and a small listenership for like a couple of years, and then it became monetized. You know, some of you guys do this shit for like a decade, 2 decades before you really pop, and it's like,
I compare it to professional wrestling because by the some people get picked early, and then other people are like, by the time they make it to the WWE,
their life's over.
They have like bad knees, and they're like, hey, you couldn't have come when I was young and had some energy.
And even like, great, you're making money now, but it's like, I wish I made this when I was young and happy and could travel and party, and it's like, I don't think I could. I know I couldn't do what you guys do if I didn't get picked pretty quickly. I could dedicate myself for a period of time. But
everyone's got, as I said, everyone's got a different road to how you get there, and that it's kind of cool, man. Like you can kind of just see like everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and you're succeeding at a high level with this. I think like with stand up, like it is grueling, but I've learned to like make the grueling part of it fun for me. Like I think you just got to learn to love the bullshit parts of it. Where like
I also, it's not even necessarily a love. I use it like podcasting for me half the time is like a therapy session. Like I feel like I'm getting shit
That's
out.
why you talk about your mom all the time.
That's where I get all my mommy issues out. Where it's like it's almost not on purpose, but I'm like, that was useful for me. Even if I don't know, it's not going to be the most downloaded episode or whatever. I'm like, if I didn't get that off my chest, I'd probably fucking jump off a bridge
right now. They were talking
now.
about me for a second. Like, this isn't going to be a very good, this is kind of a stinker, guys. Sorry, but...
this one, this is a clunker that I'm just happy to get some reps. No, but I mean, like...
I know what you mean.
There needs to be value in it, even if it's not necessarily...
Well, you want to connect, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a reason we do is like, if I'm on like the city, I want the show to, even if I'm doing the same material, I want it to feel unique to them. Like I'm in Oklahoma City, I want to throw in some riffs on Oklahoma. I want to, if I'm in Madison, I want to shit on Madison a little bit. I want to like have fun with them. That's why I always break up sets with crowd work, just because I don't want it to feel just not like a conversation.
Right. Do you feel like podcasting has changed your comedy, or comedy has changed your podcasting at all?
No,
I feel like I've gotten to see a lot of you guys become more conversational and become more off the cuff and like...
I think that's just doing so many hours on the road. I think that's less podcasting and more just like, I have to turn it into a show because like, at a certain point, like, you started the New York City comic where you're doing 15-minute sets. And you have to just boom, boom, boom. That's why New York comics have this sense of urgency in their stand-up. You just feel like
because I only got 10 minutes on stage and I just got to get all the jokes in.
I gotta blow these people away. But then you go on the road and you got to do an hour, and it's kind of like, well, you can't do that for an hour. You got to hold people. So it's a little. I remember I saw not even a comic, but I remember I saw Leonard Cohen play the Garden. Leonard Cohen, the musician, is like a low energy, like Hallelujah and stuff like that.
Right.
And he held the Garden with this low energy and like that. You almost have to hold them like it's a show rather than it's just comedy.
That's interesting.
So like, this is another thing I talked to Bargatze about because he's got a low energy too. And
incredible.
Your bits get longer because you can't just write unless you're a one-liner guy like Anthony Jeselnik or something. But your bits, I think, just have to, and even his bits have gotten, sometimes he'll do a story or something,
Yeah, when he was talking to Segura recently, like, one of Tom's stories is like 60 of his jokes or something, I think he was exaggerating, but probably not too far off, where it's like there's 2 different ways to do it, but keeping that attention. I watched Burr at the Garden, and like, I think doing an arena in comedy is fucking insane.
It's weird, right?
And he had a like baseline of chuckling, laughing, going like the whole time. And it would roar up for the punchline, but all of his setups and just the way he said it and
he's mastered it,
it's just like 20,000, 15,000 people, whatever, just like kind of laughing the whole time, and then uproars here and there. It's like, what the fuck, man? This is insane.
Well, it's like he holds people. I mean, Burr holds people. I mean, I did a show with him a week ago in LA. It was outdoors, and it's just fun to watch him just even working stuff out. He's got complete control. So, Burr's, every comic looks up to Burr.
There's also like a bulletproof feeling of it where it's like, do you think you're at I think I asked him once, like, do you bomb anymore? And he said he does. And I'm like,
Yeah, we all do.
I don't think you do though.
Well, the thing about Bill is he'll go
think-
he's got such unique premises that they're not for everybody. So I could see, yeah, I think great comics do bomb.
You
and
think
he's
so?
a great
People walk out of there being like, that was a stinker, or like, that wasn't, I thought it was gonna be the funniest show I've ever seen because it was Bill
think
Burr,
if you were
and it turned out to
constantly-
be not the best.
I don't think he bombs for his crowd on the road, but when you're working stuff out,
Yeah,
you'll
I guess
miss
when
a
you're
little
working new
bit.
jokes,
Yeah, I mean, the people that never bomb are the people that you talked about who are doing the same bulletproof
Yeah, because
15.
they don't take risks. They
But
don't try.
Bill is a real comic, and he's taking risks and he's writing new shit. If you're writing new stuff, you're gonna fail. There's no way around it.
Right. I also feel like, I, at least for me personally, when I see, if you're telling like a personal story, you're giving up you're being vulnerable, if you want to get like, kind of cheesy about it, I'll kind of respect that. Like whether the punchline lands or whether it's the funniest joke or story, who knows? But if you open up about some shit that was like hard or dark or whatever, like that takes some balls, and like no matter what the outcome is, I enjoyed that because I know what it takes to do that,
I have a new bit about how I used to jack off with my friends. And
Yeah,
like,
I think I saw you
we're
working that
13.
out almost.
Yeah.
At the it was like a little outdoor dinner spot
Yeah,
right around
yeah.
here, and you were very, you had your paper out, and you were kind of working through the stuff, which I think, I don't know if has that always been something that comics do in the industry, because I find that to be almost so much more interesting to feel like I was behind the scenes.
Some people
when you
like
were-
that better when they see you kind of you're almost naked. You
Yeah,
got like nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I was like,
But
I just released a roof thing, so I was like, I need a new set. And that one, it's funny when you work a bit out about 13, when you were a 13-year-old boy masturbating in a room full of other boys, and just watching Oklahomans like, what the fuck is this shit?
Well, I feel like you said some shit about jerking off with your friends, and it got, a middle, like some people appalled, and you were kind of like, all right, like some people good, some people not good. Okay, like I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
But that always, as a blogger, I knew I had like success. I reached a point where I learned whatever my take is on a blog, on a topic, enough people agree and relate to it every time now. Like I just
Sure.
know that I'm an everyman, I'm a middle of the road guy, and I have a base who always is like, I agree with that. So I started to get a little cocky where it was like, I can say this and say that, I can tell this story and that story, and I've always got this base that agrees with me, or even if they disagree with me, they get down with it. And then every now and then, especially if you're telling something personal like that, where it's like, yeah, so you know how when you're a kid, you like, rub Vaseline on your dick and put it, whatever. And then, I put it out, you guys
I'm
get.
still with you on that one.
Yeah, but you guys get immediate reaction in the club. I would like put it on the blog, press publish, and then you start to see
just
some comments or
lives.
tweets,
Yeah.
people being like, "No, bro, we didn't do that," and you're like, "Oh shit, I was
Well, I
the
would
only
assume
one
it's
who did
harder-
that."
I assume it's harder to be vulnerable with a barstool crowd. 'Cause I think you get a lot
iron
of
sharpens iron sort of thing. They just got crushed for anything that it's gotten better as they start to learn and respect you more instead.
Yeah,
of
well,
you
you're
talking
their
about
guy
more
now,
about-
so
Yes,
for
yeah.
sure. But I mean, that's the thing is like we will work stuff out that's. I think the really funny shit is the thing that's unique to you, and it's like I like doing topical jokes too. But when you do stuff that's really just like, oh, I did this.
Well,
this is me.
and no other comics can tell that joke. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
one else can tell that story. That's fucking proprietary. That's yours.
Not a lot of comics would be like, hey, you stole my jacking off with other friends bit when you were a kid.
And if you did, then it's like, well, let's talk about it
Yeah,
because you
let's-
guys did it too.
I go
Did
this
you-
way, you go this way. It's a different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a city kid, right? You grew
Yeah.
up in the city, so you
Yeah.
probably don't have this. But suburbs kids, there are neighborhoods that either have a box of porn in the woods
Oh wow.
or do not. And I grew up in two different ones where, and none of this happens anymore because of the internet, but there was literally a big cardboard box of Playboys and penthouses.
Wow.
That I don't know how it started. Somebody out there eventually, somebody was stealing from their dad, and they put them in the woods because then you could ride your bike out there and all look at them in the woods, and you left it in a box, and somebody would tell, like an urban legend, like you go like three houses down, you jump in the woods there, go 3 trees, make a left, and it's by this pile.
like the Goonies.
Yes, and then there would be, this pile of porn.
Yeah.
And sometimes you say that, and people go like, "Oh yeah, the box of porn in the woods."
Yeah.
And other times people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
No, I've heard of
And-
this. I've heard of stuff
right.
like this.
City life is different though, man. We just had Natalie Cuomo on. She's a city kid. We used to do the podcast with Asa Akira. She grew up in the city the whole time, and like, you guys are fucking weird. It's
We
just
are
not normal
weird.
to be.
I mean, that's one thing I say is like, people always think you grow up fast as a city kid. It's like, in some ways, I mean, like I can't drive a car.
well,
I mean,
right. You don't grow up at all, or you.
Yeah.
But you can't drive a car. But you were.
But I kissed a boy when I was 7, so
on the subway, like commuting to school. I mean, when I see kids like commuting, you shouldn't have to. You should go to school. You shouldn't commute to school.
Isn't that weird?
Like you're getting on a
Yeah.
fucking. I gotta get on the local train to get off and like get to my school.
We did a school bus
Not
when I was a
normal.
kid, and I remember I shit my pants when I was in
no.
first grade on the bus, or second grade maybe, and I remember, this kid like he was like, I don't believe
Full
you.
shit or just like a shark?
Oh, it was out
Like-
there.
like-
It was full on. It
Oh,
was like
no.
some kid had like a nanny who had to clean me in the shower. I felt horrible. I was on my way to a play date at his house.
How old are you?
Second grade, maybe first grade,
Yeah,
probably.
so you're like 6, 7.
Yeah, and I was just like, I just couldn't hold it. It was midtown traffic. Fucking, I couldn't do anything. And
See, that's what I mean. You shouldn't have to deal with midtown traffic as a fucking 6-year-old.
it was
That ain't
brutal.
right, man.
Yeah. No, I remember a kid. No one believed me, and then one kid like touched my butt. He's like, "Nah, it's true."
Oh man,
brutal.
I can feel the poop, bro.
It was rough.
I mean, you shouldn't be like, the president's in town. They got the traffic at the UN, so I can't get to Mikey's fucking house. I shit my pants. You're a 6-year-old, man.
Yeah.
That ain't right.
Yeah.
But I also imagine it's a source of, pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean,
material.
a lot of great stuff came from it, but also, I mean, you have those weird stories. I really feel incompetent. Like I go on the road and
Can
I'm
you
like,
legit not drive, or you just
I have a
license?
license, but I bullshit my way into the license. And
Yeah.
like I literally failed twice the test, and then the third time I walked in the car and I was like, "Please don't fail me. I already failed twice." And she laughed, and I was like, "I'm in. I think I'm in."
Yeah,
I knocked over cones and shit. She was like, "You're fine.
Whatever.
You got it."
Could you like?
She thought it was funny that I was a failure.
That's
Probably not a great driving instructor,
Yeah,
but
this is great.
Yeah.
This guy can't operate this 10,000-pound piece of machinery. It's awesome. Could, like if I threw you the keys and I said, parallel park this car and within a reasonable amount of time, 1 or 2 shots
be
for like
rough.
10 grand, could you do it?
it'd be rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd try.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet 10 grand
No,
on it.
yeah,
I'd try
I'll
to get
do it.
them.
I'll give it a shot, but I'm not putting on my 10.
I've done road gigs with comics early on when we're like, we'll split the driving. I'm like, I just needed the work. But I was like, yeah, we'll split the driving. Then I start driving. They're like,
No
you're not
going.
driving. They're like, this ain't good. So
What do you think, what's another thing besides driving that you think is like, because you grew up in New York, you're just incompetent with?
Jeez.
Because did you guys ride bikes as a kid?
I can't really ride a bike
No.
either.
Where would you ride a bike?
It's funny. My dad was giving me shit for this the other day, where he was like, you can't ride a bike. I'm like, you're my dad. You should have taught me this.
Yeah, this is on you, bro.
He was mocking me for it. So riding bikes. You know what a big one is? Is just tempo. I think tempo for me is big because. I was in Nashville over the weekend, and they're just taking forever. I didn't
even grow up in the city. I'm a New York guy,
We're at the
though.
hot chicken
I can't-
joint. Well, yeah, we're at the hot chicken joint, and people are in front of us just taking their time. I'm like,
the chicken joint,
We've been in line for an hour, and you don't know where you're gonna get.
Nuts,
so
man.
that drives me crazy.
I hate New York, and part of me wants to get out of it. But anytime I go visit somewhere and the waiter takes forever to just bring the menus, you know what I mean?
I know.
When you sit at the table for 10 minutes just
It's a pace.
doing nothing, it's like, give me the menu right away.
We're in a rush,
Give
and
me
I
the
don't,
waters
I don't know
right away.
why.
The bread right away. Like, it's going.
But the rush doesn't make full sense.
No, of course not. I'm not
I don't
doing
know where to
anything
be.
important
But
at all.
but that it's just the pace. That honestly is one of the reasons I'm so mad that the yellow cabs are not as much of a thing, because the yellow
I think they're
cabs.
making a comeback, by the way. I think people are getting fed up with Uber.
I hope so, because the yellow cabs really, it's part of the city pace. Like, you go out, you put your hand up, you get in a car.
It's there.
Uber, you're like, I gotta call and wait. It's not
Meet
New
me
York.
here, I'll walk
What is
to
this,
that
fucking
spot.
Connecticut?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
this is New York. Is you go out, you put your hand up, and you get in a cab. It's part of the pace.
Yes.
That's
you know.
That's not New York. That's
Not at
Germany.
all. Not, no.
In the 40s. That's Germany. It's no.
But
we,
and it was just like, but there was also a little roll of the dice where it's like, usually you can get a cab right away, but sometimes you can't.
Now it's
like,
hard.
oh, fuck. Yeah, now it's a different story. Did you see those people waiting through the fucking subway flood a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
What the fuck, man? You could not pay me enough to get in.
Wherever you're
tunnel
going is
flood.
not that important.
That's what I said. And I understand you might not be able to afford an Uber or a cab. God bless you.
Yeah.
And maybe you need this job, and if you get fired, it's a problem. But I don't know. I would be like, then fire me. Fire
But
me.
also, you could die.
Yes. There's got to be a live wire down there or something where the whole fucking thing's electrified. There's going to be rats and poop and shit and bums, and you're going to get trapped and drown like
The rats in
daylight.
this city, dude.
They're
so
disgusting,
confident
man.
too. They act like they own it.
Totally unfazed by humans now.
They
have
hate it.
evolved to the point that they are just not afraid of humans. The pigeons, the rats, all of them. They're just like, what's up now? Come get some. We don't give a fuck. This is my seat.
They used to only come out at night, and now they're just out in the daylight. Like what?
Hanging out in the park.
And
That's
you're like,
why
dude.
I hate the people. I walked by just like it was like a halal thing on the corner or a hot dog one, whatever. And I watched this guy. He had like a handful of like feed, like corn or seed or something. And I just watched him throw it out there. And the pigeons come swarming to eat it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why? What, are you friends with these fucking things? You're just giving them, you're just encouraging them.
I'm okay with the pigeons, even though
the pigeons are fucking winged rats. They're
winged
just
rats, but for some reason, like, I don't know, it's funny, like I'll go to Atlantic City and there's like the seagulls. I'm like, these aren't real fucking birds. Yeah, like these are
I want
the
the pigeons with the oil slick on them. Why are they green and purple? I don't know, but I like it.
I don't know why this is one of those punk rock pigeons.
Yeah,
right here.
you're a cool pigeon. And then they always, they say, where are the baby pigeons?
Yeah,
you're right. And I guess they're in a nest somewhere, but where are their nests?
I don't know.
They all in Central Park?
I don't know a lot about pigeons, but I do.
But they're just there.
The animals that freak me out are the I don't like the rat. I can deal with mice. I hate them, but I can deal with rats and the raccoons are the ones. Raccoons. I say raccoons.
You said raccoons. That was weird.
I do cashews too. Cashews.
No way. You said cashews?
I said cashews.
Get out of here.
It's cashews,
Well,
right?
look at the raccoons eating cashews.
I got a ton of shit for saying cashews in a special.
Yeah, you hit the accent on the wrong spot.
Yeah, and people gave me a ton
Cashews.
of shit for that.
Cashews. How do you say the Italian plumber video game?
Oh, Mario.
You say Mario. You should say
no.
Mario.
No, I actually, you know what? I say Mario.
Yeah, you say Mario. Like in New York, I like New
Mario,
York, New
it's
Jersey.
funny. No,
Mario is what they all
I got a
tell
ton
me
of shit
to say.
because we would play a lot of Mario Kart on the road. Yeah, I got corrected to Mario.
Yeah, I mean you're getting
Mario.
They're brainwashing you. You don't have an Italian accent. They always go, listen, he says it. It's a me, Mario. I'm like, yeah, he has a fucking Italian accent.
Yes.
We say Mario. Fuck off.
Dude, those are
Mario is where
those
it's at.
games, dude.
But you know what fucks me up?
Yeah.
Wario. I don't say Wario. I do say Wario.
Wario.
And Wario is the bizarre.
But it's
Mario.
Wario and Mario. Yeah,
This
look.
doesn't make sense.
I know I'm fucking it up. But
I
that's
know.
just
I
how
know.
always-
It's just how we do it, man.
Dude, Mario Kart back in the day, man, that was like how many? I remember like I was on the road one with Mateo Lane, and he's like freakishly good at it. It was
Yeah.
to the point where I'm like, I don't want to fucking play with you.
Yeah, and
I
it's
haven't
a
been,
weird
I haven't
thing
been
to be good at,
practicing.
'cause it's like we're kind of making the same turns and moves, but it's like being like a NASCAR driver or
He
something.
knew-
you really had to know how to
He
hit
knew how to hit
these.
the turns.
Yeah.
There's like a button you press R to hit the turns. To
Yep.
get I'm like, who
Yeah,
the
you
fuck?
get the
Where do you
smoke
learn
coming
this?
out of the back, and you get the burst. I mean, you can be good at it, and you can be fucking like great at it. I mean, some of these. Did you play video games like?
Yeah.
Because I
Not
gave
like
up.
crazy.
I gave up on. I stopped playing video games. I stopped reading comic books, and I stopped smoking weed. And if you
Yeah, you're dead.
But even like earlier on, but if you think about it now, if you did esports, you got in on cannabis, and you were like a Marvel nerd, you're like the most popular guy in the fucking world.
Nerds took over,
They took
yeah.
over. I mean, that
Marvel
is
was
what
bankrupt
runs
when
the
we were
world.
kids, remember?
I know. I mean, it was.
And then
it was-
Blade brought it back.
Is that what it was?
Blade brought it
Blade
back.
was awesome.
And then I only saw the first 10 minutes because my mom
That's
took
all you
me when
need
I
to
was a
see,
kid.
though. Oh,
Well,
she must have been like, we're getting the fuck
my
out of here.
mom was like, I'll buy you any movie you want at HMV. This is how long ago it was. I'll buy you any movie you want at
Classic.
HMV if you don't make me sit through this. And I was like, deal. Bought the Married with Children Christmas special.
Nice. That you really are comedy, man, through and through. Give me that Al Bundy. Al Bundy's one of the, all-time great dads.
He rules.
He really is, right? I
That
mean,
show was just jokes.
nonstop. And the fact that Peggy always wanted to fuck him, instead of being the classic, like, I'm a husband who
Peggy
doesn't
was
get
hot.
laid, Peggy could get it. And
Yeah.
forget about Kelly. I mean, Christina Applegate was a rocket in that. But the fact that they had the foresight to kind of be like, we're not going to do the hacky husband's sex deprived. We're going to do the he's fighting her off with a stick. So good, man.
And literally, the shit you cannot get away with. Like, literally, he would walk in. I love the walking into applause, but he would go, a fat lady came into the shoe store today, and it would get applause. You're
Yeah,
like, man,
when
shit,
he would
sensibilities have changed.
he would refuse to sell shoes to the fat women, and it was just like, yep, that's just how it goes.
Crazy. It's crazy what you
all
could get
time.
away with back then. It was a different vibe. But I love those shows, and yeah, no, Marvel has taken over in a way where it's like, I think Marvel's like porn. I'm like, I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think we've got
reached
enough.
the point.
Yeah.
But they, I figured Infinity War and Endgame were going to kind of be like some sort of culmination, and then they're like, that's the end of phase 1, and here's phase 2,
It's like
3,
COVID.
and 4.
Yeah.
Just keep. I thought we said we are going to be inside for 2 weeks. Next thing you know, there's 55 Marvel movies. But
Everyone
like,
loves
rock on,
Loki.
man.
I'm just like,
Oh,
I'm
Loki's
sure-
fire.
I hear it's
Loki's
good.
fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
It really, really is. No, you got to see it. It's well worth it.
I just can't do
Do
it
you
anymore.
watch like
Shows?
Can you keep up? Yeah, that's probably. Is that all
I
you
watch-
do when you're on the road,
no,
or
I-
you don't
no,
do it
I-
at all?
I just watched Mayor of Easttown. I like that a lot.
Great one.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I like her. I mean, I don't like how they like have to like. There's a classic HBO shit where they're just like, she's a, she's like a badass like Pennsylvania
That
detective.
accent was-
She was killer. But then like her daughter, it's like I'm like, do all these gay kids exist at this point in Pennsylvania? It was like clearly like a writer's note.
Have you
in
noticed
LA.
every show has? I mean,
I get that they're
I
gay,
don't
but
sound
are
like
they all this out in
Yeah.
this
in
area,
this area?
in Pennsylvania?
No, yeah. If you're in like the fucking like oxy hillbilly heroin part of Pennsylvania, I don't think you're.
I don't know
like
if they
the
have like
out
this
and about
hipster
lesbian.
community,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they were
Seems
like,
a little
we're
forced,
going
you know?
to the band. I'm like, I don't know if this band is out yet, but the show was good, and I mean, it definitely dropped off when she wasn't on screen.
Oh, I mean, she's unbelievable.
She
dude.
rules.
Yeah,
I
she is
love
a
her.
great fucking actress.
Yeah.
No, that did it for me. I mean, at this point, I'm like, all TV. I mean, as a dad, and I'm washed up. I don't party.
I just watched that movie Pig with Nicolas Cage. That's great.
Was that good?
It's great.
Yeah, people are
It's like
raving
the
about it.
anti-John Wick.
Right.
His pig gets kidnapped, and he
he's
just
going to
uses
find
like
it, yeah.
psychological tools to get it back. It's amazing.
It's just a pet pig.
He's got a truffle pig. It looks insane. I showed the trailer to my girlfriend last night, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Come on!" Then we watch it. She's like, "This is so good."
Are you guys still doing the movie swap thing?
No, but we will. We might do like bonus. I think we're just too busy to do like.
You guys are
every
both killing
week.
it, huh?
She's
Taylor
doing.
Tomlinson
She's doing
is-
great.
is-
She's
yeah.
crushing it. Yeah, I mean, I also
I
do
would-
two
I-
other podcasts, so it's just a lot.
I won't lie though. I remember being like, started kind of in COVID. You guys got like trapped together almost.
It was scary. That was a horror movie.
And you both
yeah.
were. I still feel like comedy couples is a very precarious thing.
It's dangerous.
And I was like, I hope the best for these two kids, but I don't know if they're gonna make it. And here
Yeah.
you guys are. I mean,
Yeah,
still
no,
going
it's
strong.
going well. Yeah,
I feel like comedy relationships when you are a comedian probably pretty tough. And then I feel like if you are a comedy couple, that either makes it easier or it's doomed. You know what I mean? Because either I would imagine being on the road a lot, saying a lot of controversial shit or making jokes about your relationship can be a problem. But then if you date someone who can understand all that, like, good. Or it gets like, it's just too much.
We're
and you
pretty
guys
good
are
at
one-upping each
not-
other and you're fighting and then it just falls
we're
apart.
pretty good at not picking apart the other person's act.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
like that's a dangerous place to
Will
go.
you like run jokes even by? I wouldn't even, because then you
If
know
I have a
her
joke that
genuine reaction.
If I have a joke that I'm like, she might not love this. Let me just tell her it's pretty much never a problem. I'm usually like, hey, just heads
is
up,
gonna
I got
happen.
this new bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's usually
just
like,
okay.
yeah, whatever. Yeah.
What
She's
about just regular, like, hey, I'm working on this material. What do you think of this? And because in a regular, that's like
I think
the comics version of do I look fat in this? And the answer should just be like, no, you look great, babe. But you're also gonna know if she's lying to you, like, oh, that joke's funny. And it's like that's
No,
you
I
don't
want
think
her
it's
to be.
funny.
If she's like, I remember she was like, I don't really see it, and the joke killed. I was like, well, I like it, So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
ended
yeah.
up keeping it. But
Right.
yeah,
Fuck
no,
you. I was right.
She's told me bits where I'm like, she's like, oh, this might upset you, and I'm usually just like, yeah, well, here's the thing, like, you're up there for a reason. Like, I think there's certain things like you don't feel like you could say in your regular life, and this is your place where you should get to say those
Absolutely,
things.
yeah.
So I don't feel right really telling people like, don't do that bit.
Agreed.
I don't. To
I've
comics.
never people that happens around here sometimes.
And
I
I
wrote this
think-
on a blog or I said this on
Yeah.
a podcast. I'm like, just do it, man.
I don't think I would write something that's like fuck her. That's
no,
not the
of
vibe.
course.
So I think when you're up there with like the right, it's like same goes
right
with like my
intent, the
mom.
right-
I'm just kind of like I'll make fun of my mom a little bit, but it's not like
never
the bitch she
malicious.
doesn't love, but then she's kind of like, nah, I get it's fine.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think it's
You
the same
find the humor
thing.
in it,
If
right.
it's someone you care about, then there's gonna be.
Well,
jokes.
I also, it was a huge problem for me in my relationship, in my marriage, but my kind of defense of it was always like, this is generic relationship stuff. I was never like picking out individual things. It was like, we fell into some of the traps that I was like, the reason why this is working on the podcast or the blog is because everyone can relate. They're all like,
Right.
oh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend does that too. It's like, that's what I'm doing here, not like picking on you.
For sure.
And I think because some of those things are so universal in all relationships. You know, it's like, it's not really about you. It's about relationships. You can't take it personal. And that's where I think being comic, like hopefully thick skin, you don't take things personal. It's like,
Well,
that's where I think, or
you're
the
both.
opposite, where you
Well,
guys are
you're-
sensitive.
Well,
you know?
we're both. I
Yeah.
think you got to be thin-skinned and thick-skinned to do this because I think you got to be kind of sensitive to create jokes. You have to be like to feel things to
Yeah,
create
that's
jokes.
true.
But then
Right,
you
right,
have to
right.
kind of also be okay with rejection. I think like anyone in entertainment has kind of got to feel that way. So she's cool about it. I mean, I have a couple jokes that I'm like, yeah, if I were dating me, I wouldn't love these, but also, you know, they're funny jokes. They're pretty, as you said, relatable. And I think she's had bits where she's like, this might bother you, just watch it. And I'm like, nah, that's good. Yeah.
I almost feel like if you give me that heads up, like, could you really say like, oh yeah, you're right, that bothers me, take that out. You know what I mean? Then you're.
I think
being an
it's
asshole.
also fine to say I don't love it, but I think it's good and you should keep doing
Well,
it.
that's the
I think
thing too.
I
It's
think
like,
you can be
You're right.
honest.
This will upset me, but
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to take it out. I'm just like,
Sure.
yeah, that sucked. That hurt my feelings.
I'll just put my AirPods in for that joke.
Yeah.
And then I'll be right back with you.
You guys are probably both on the road and so busy, but like, will you
Yeah.
go see her live? Will you go?
Well, there's not really time
Right,
because we're
right.
both on the road all the time. But like, yeah, we'll do we will do shows together. We just did the Laugh Factory last week.
Oh,
We're on
that's cool.
And we went like back to back. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
We'll do that. It's funny. She went on before me, and she's like, "I try not to do too much therapy stuff because I know you talk about therapy. You know,
That's love, man.
Yeah.
And when
She's
she
like, I
doesn't
don't wanna-
steal your therapy jokes,
Yeah.
that's love, dude.
Well, she's got a different take, but yeah, we're both in therapy. So.
I mean, at this point, I feel like everybody has to be. You should all be.
It's
It's like
would
going
never
to
say
the
it's
fucking
for-
doctor.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, yeah,
You know?
exactly. I mean, I have friends who I'm like, there are people. I'm not going to say everyone needs it, but I have friends who are like, I don't need it. I'm like, no, you need it. Like I have friends who I'm like, you're holding some shit in.
I also think it's like, now you're good, so now's the time to go and keep it that way. Let's not wait until
Yeah.
you're fucked and it's irreversible. Let's
Right.
do a little maintenance here and just keep up with it.
Maintenance is the right word
Right?
for sure.
It's like going to the gym or whatever. It's like you do checkups for your body physically. Why don't you do this shit for your brain too? But there's
I'm
still a
with you.
stigma, I feel
And
like.
it's also just like it's you talking about your impact and relationship with people. So it's just good to be aware of that. It's just good to be like, I did this and I probably shouldn't have done that, and to reflect on that. And I just think it makes me a better human being.
Right. And I think it is good for comedy too.
Yeah,
Either
for
literally,
sure.
like sometimes your
Let's be
therapist gives
real.
you-
That's why I'm really in there. I'm
You're
like,
working
this is
out
the-
material, right? You're working out bits. It's like, oh, okay.
Sneak bits into
change
therapy.
That one.
So I was at the airport the other day. He's like, just get to the real.
At least get to the punchline so we can talk about this.
Now he's in a lot of bits. He gets it. I mean, he's cool.
You don't go. There's this one.
I go to
You
Alan.
go to the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
He's like the
comics see him.
comics. That guy is either the greatest therapist or he's running a racket where he just got you
He's
guys to
good,
all
man.
recommend each other to.
He's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. But also, isn't kind of the whole point like a little anonymity and all that? Like, if some other comic says I was in therapy the other day, it's like, are you talking to Alan?
Yeah, it is weird. I've definitely walked out and you see a comic waiting there and you're like, oh boy, here we go. You know, you want to be now I do it on Zoom, but like, yeah, it is weird to leave the room and see someone you know.
Hey,
I've
man.
definitely seen comics come out of there like, oh fuck, and they see my face. I'm like, I know you're not thrilled to.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not like
That's
I'm
also-
gossiping. I'm not like, you know who I saw.
No.
You know who I saw in
you're
tears
also
today.
there. It's
Yeah.
like going to a bar
Yeah.
in the middle of the afternoon. You walk. I'm like, who are these people who don't even have a job? And then I'm like, I'm here too.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't really throw stones. You're there, fucking therapy as well. So we're all a little crazy.
And also, like, you know, I would never name comics names who don't talk about it.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I got wrecked
Respect
by
that.
other comedians who are pretty open about it. It's funny to
Right.
say you got wrecked, but it's like I used to call the waiting room the green room because you know you see comics. I
you
remember
got a rider to show up. I need to make sure I have the M&Ms and a fucking drink.
for sure. I used to wait. I remember I used to do a bit about this. I heard him laugh really hard, and I was in the waiting room, and I heard him laugh really hard, and my first thought was, fuck, I got to bring it today.
He's
you know?
killing. How am I gonna follow this act?
Exactly.
You're like,
I mean,
all right, we're talking about my fucking, my daddy issues today. Let's go. I'm gonna really bring the fucking heat.
I've run bits by him about like issues, and
Yeah.
he's got a good sense of humor. You know, he gets.
You think is it like cathartic? Is it good for you to joke about your shit, or is that?
Oh
make
my
it-
God, yeah,
That's
like
kind of what I
it's-
meant about podcasts. I get
People,
that
it
a
makes
little bit.
you feel better. It also makes if you're doing bits, like Taylor's so good about this. Taylor will joke about such personal stuff that
Mm-hmm.
that it like really helps people, I think. And you know, I'm more of
The
just
relatability
I'm
and
more of
the-
like an escapist, kind of just silly jokes or whatever. But I'll do occasional stuff about my biological dad, and people
Yeah.
people are like, this made me feel better about
Right.
my. I think anytime you feel like seen or heard in some kind of bit or a movie or anything, you're like, oh, that's cool that's also. I feel like I connect to something. It's cool.
I thought the easiest, simplest joke I think you tell is something along the lines of like, if you have to call him your biological father, you're probably not in a great spot with him.
Yeah.
Everyone
People
else
would
just
ask.
calls him my dad, my father.
Another one that people liked was like he would. I remember I went to his apartment the first time I met him, and he was petting a cat, and I was like, "What's up with the cat?" And he said, "I rescued her from the side of the road, and I nursed her back to health." And I was like, "So you did have it in you." That's
Where
a
was
bummer.
that one for me,
Yeah.
dipshit? What happened there? Like, do you, just went wrong when
Yeah, it was just-
you
and
were
I-
younger, and then you reconnected.
Yeah, we reconnected, and I was raised by a great dad, so I feel like people get sad. I'm like, no, this is just what happened. Like I had a great childhood, so I think it's another thing where, it's like you just.
You took his name as well, right? Or
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
mom's
the-
name or the
No,
stepdad's name?
Stepdad's
Yeah.
name, but I call him dad. He's my dad. Legally adopted me, which he's a lawyer, so he's like, we'll go to court, we'll make it official. Like he wants everything to be very. And I've talked to other people. My favorite joke about this, by the way, Joe DeRosa has a joke about being I'm not adopted. The term is legally adopted, but I was raised by my mom and then stepdad. But Joe DeRosa was full on adopted. The comedian, great joke he has is people always say, "You ever try to find your real parents?" And I go, "No, I took the hint actually." It's perfect.
I don't want to be desperate, and I want to be clingy.
But no, I had a great childhood. He's a great dad. So that was the other thing where I don't want
From
people to
what
get
age?
sad. Well, I think their first date was probably I was like 4 or 5, I think, and then
So,
they
like,
got
you-
married at like 7. I was like 7.
So you don't really have memories prior.
No,
to,
I mean,
right?
I
You
see.
you have
It's funny. You
flash here
see
or there.
pictures of just me and my mom. Like, oh, that kind of like there's like blurs, but no, I don't really. No, I don't think anyone really remembers.
And he was just out of the picture, like he was.
Yeah,
gone.
he just wasn't around.
Yeah.
But but then I have a stepbrother and stepsister, and they're like all. It's funny. They're just so accomplished, and so my brother's at the DA's office. My sister's a litigator. They're
Yeah.
like very.
Bro, I mean,
Yeah.
you're selling yourself short here.
No, I know, but I think that's how you always see yourself. I'm the baby, so I think I always saw myself as like they're like I can't live up to like.
And it
there
is
with
funny
the-
because it's very different. Like you're accomplished, but it's you're a clown. I'm a
Oh,
joker.
They're
and
leaving
you're-
law school. I was going to an open mic at Maui Tacos.
Yes.
So yeah, there was definitely a feeling where I'm like, I'm shit.
But I'm sure there are times, I think that what you do, I think that what comics do is truly the most like impressive thing in the world to be able to make a room like feel and
Yeah,
laugh
dude,
and
fuck
control
Navy.
the
No,
room.
fuck Navy SEALs.
Yeah,
dude.
fuck Navy SEAls, fuck, the social workers of the world, the people fighting wars, saving babies. I'm much more impressed with the ability
Social
of-
workers. It's funny. My therapist will always say, because I'll say sometimes I'm tired. Relationships take so much work, and he's like, well, sometimes giving can be energizing. And I my first thought was like, well, you never see a fucking energized looking social worker.
No.
You know what I mean?
They give. Someone just takes
exhausted.
and takes and takes.
Yeah.
No, thank you, man.
I don't know.
So in that regard, like, it sounds like you said, you had a great childhood.
Yeah,
And,
I did.
And I've always just tried to put myself in that spot where it's like, if you have a problem with a biological parent and your life is shitty because of that, obviously, I think there's a lot more issues to be had. When things are good, though, do you still at least do you have thoughts of like, well, do you have the thought of like, why didn't you come around, or was it me, or any of that kind of shit, or is it just
Yeah,
like,
I think
don't
so
care,
much,
man, whatever.
No, I think it's healthy to have those thoughts.
Like the Fresh Prince, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Well, how come you don't love me, man? That's you. You are like the New York Jewish comedy version of Will Smith.
Will,
like,
yeah.
I learned how to tell some pretty good jokes without him, didn't I? Yeah, that's right.
And and he was a judge, the dad. So
Yeah, there you go.
you
You're living that life, man.
But I really liked. I think part of being anyone in entertainment, I think like in some way did not feel seen. So I think that's a way where you're like, you didn't see me, you didn't get. So I think there is some need where you need to be on a stage or need to be in front of people and show that you have value. I think there's some deep-rooted self-esteem issue with most. I mean, I'm sure some people just like to perform, but with a lot of people, I think that's the case. They just did not feel seen in some way or another. And you feel accepted by strangers. You're like, see, I have value. I'm good. So yeah, I think there's something there for sure.
Yeah. Even if everything else is good, it's like even if subconscious, there's some thought of like, I don't know, why did you choose? Why did you choose not to?
Sure, but I also do feel accepted by my family.
Everybody else, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think my mom is an artist, and my mom.
She's funny, man. She's got like good. Cool. She's got her own like comedic timing when you guys do those Instagram bits.
My mom is funny. I mean, she really is, and she's very smart and cool, and she has a good sense of humor. Like we would watch things. I mean, it's cool to have a mom who's open-minded. Like we would watch Simpsons together as a kid, and she would like get it, which is cool. Like I think moms will sometimes watch shit with their kids, but my mom like got
the punchlines,
how intelligent.
The layers to this shit.
I think some people write off animated shows. Like I really do. I think people don't.
Some of it's like the most brilliant shit out there.
Because you can go anywhere.
Like
there's
that's no boundaries.
That's why like a show like Rick and Morty is so amazing to me.
It's, you know what it is too? It's like you can go anywhere, but you have to keep it like tight still. You can't go too crazy because then it's all over the place.
Exactly.
So yeah, you have no boundaries, but you gotta like set your own boundaries, and that's a whole
like being a comic kind of like right? Like no one's gonna tell you what, like I do feel like we're like freelance workers still, so no one's gonna tell me that I have to write every day. No one's gonna tell, like I have to hold myself accountable to do this stuff. And a lot of us have horrible ADD. A lot of us lack discipline. So that's tough for sure.
Did your mom like help you with your career, or is it just like?
No, my mom. So I have horrible ADD. Like I can't focus, and my mom would just buy me like book after book of ADD. There'd be like a pile of ADD books. I'm like, do you think this is helping?
Right. I was like, that's kind of counterintuitive. Like that's the point here, lady. I can't.
They sent me to a 7-hour ADD seminar against my will.
Again,
and I was
like counterintuitive.
This is torture.
Yeah.
This is torture.
Were you of the generation of like, did you get medicated for it? Because I feel like when we grew up, it was kind of like, I don't know, just figure it out, weirdo. You're bouncing off the walls, go run around outside. And then this generation's like, here's a fucking pill every single 2 seconds, At
the very end, I was medicated for it. So yeah, that was, I feel like, your grades just get better. You just kind of.
Was it like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be?
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't focus in school. I was like, and I was insecure. I couldn't focus, so I would just behave horribly. I think.
There's the cycle.
And then it kind of turned to me like making teachers laugh. It would kind of like I'd make jokes that they would like
Again,
too.
That attention.
Still
seen.
attention. But you make jokes instead of them being the enemy. They kind of was like part of the thing with you. So that made it way better.
Did your when you started to see success? When did you reconnect with your biological dad? Was it career based? Was it like
no? I was dating a girl who was both her parents were psychiatrists, so that was a lot. And literally every fight we'd have, she'd be like,
"This is because you're."
She would say in an even worse way. She'd go, "Who are you really yelling at?" And I'd
be like, "Oh, come on!" Like that's like a joke. Wait, you're not mad at me. You're mad at your father.
Well, she was saying this sincerely. So that sucked. But we never. Yeah, so I guess I was like, for my own, just to know like who you are. I remember that movie, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Flirting with Disaster, David O. Russell. Ben Stiller's in search for his biological parents. It's great. It's a really funny movie. And I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. It's kind of like to just know where you came from. And it's like, you don't have to even maintain a relationship. It's just something you can know.
So when you, did your mom told you were... And she told you who he was, or no? Like it was just like there's another guy, or she was like, here's his name,
she had always told me, but I just kind of was like, what's the deal?
And then you sought it out later.
Yeah, and then I was kind of like, what's the deal with this? And
how old are you?
I was like 19 probably. Okay. He left a note in a safety deposit box, and it was like, he's an advertiser, it's pretty well written, and I was just kind of like, all right.
Really?
Yeah, it was like just a note for me. It is a little.
Did you know it was there?
Yeah, she kind of put it out there, and I was like, I'm good. And then like later, I was like, oh, can I see it? And she said, yeah, I'll get it.
Wow. And it was just like a dear son sort of thing?
He didn't call me son.
Well, dear whatever your mom named you? No, but like, is it like a I'm sorry thing, or was it like...
Yeah, he apologized. He had a complex, I understood a little more as I went, but his wife before my mom had passed away from cancer, and I think that was pretty tough. He had already had a kid. I think he was I think he'd been through some stuff as well, and you know, I don't think he did the right thing, but I think things worked out for me. So I you
well,
know,
that's what's you had a great family like pick you up, and then you have a great career.
got picked up in free agency. I you know.
Signed a lifetime deal with his other franchise. It worked out pretty well. I mean, thankfully and luckily, but it is also interesting to you know sometimes there are two sides to the story. Like you said, it doesn't make you didn't do the right thing, but at least you understand the point of view. Or
they
whatever.
made me the way I am in other. I mean, like what's cool is like I'm in a family full of lawyers, so they would speak in a very concise, clear way. And when they'd make an argument, even just like at the dinner table, they'd say a thing that I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. You know, like you. Comedy's a lot like being a trial lawyer in a way because you're proving something.
You got to make a case,
true,
and premise,
right?
and get there. Yeah.
So I like that. I'm sure that had an influence on how I speak.
For sure.
You know, so
how kind of the perfect. If your biological dad's gonna be a dick, kind of worked out perfect in the sense you got some source material, some trauma, need the attention. Then you get picked up by the lawyers who teach you how to speak concisely.
If you want to be an artist, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
there you go, man.
Sure.
I mean, everybody.
And I
says
lose the word artist loosely. We are bottom of the barrel, just above burlesque dancers. Barely.
Again though, I mean, I get, of course, what you're saying, but when you guys are on and doing what you do, I think it's one of the most impressive things that you can, as a person who, you just stand there, maybe with a microphone, and just go. The way that you can control a room and like make people react is
it's fun.
One of the
man.
more impressive things that you can do as a person.
Well, that's what the pandemic revealed is that like we don't need much. Like you're doing these park shows. You're like, yeah, it's not as good, but we could still tell jokes. Like, yeah, I don't want to do this again.
Right.
That's the funny thing was I put out a rooftop special out, and people were like, "Can I book you on my roof?" I'm like, "No, that's done.
I'm never doing this again." Yeah, I got my fill, man.
It's a fun thing I will never do again.
Yeah, right. I mean, but yeah, the pandemic was kind of like a good sink or swim moment. And I feel like you were like kind of ready for it too, though. It's like you had already been doing the internet, you'd already been doing YouTube shit and like learning how to put your own things out, and like I'll just go do it this way too.
Yeah, well that helped for sure.
I mean, it's been cool watching the rise. What's next? Like still, because that's another thing with it's like you hope to you can do sitcoms, you can get on TV, you can produce and write. But also, you can just like keep doing this forever in a way, right? It's like
yeah,
the
this
idea
is more fun, and I love it, and I feel like this is what I've been waiting for: is to do the road the way I want to do it. It's just better now. The clubs just treat you better when you're been around for a little longer, and I get to bring people who I want on the road. I bring hilarious comics with me, and makes the road a little easier. And yeah, I'm working on a new hour, so we'll see how long that takes.
How long does that last? Like, do you do 12 hours? Like, do you just keep doing this till you're 60?
I'd like to do it forever.
Like, who has like the most specials?
Carlin.
Yeah, how many did he have?
20 or something.
Wow, that is a lot.
A lot, maybe more. I don't know. I mean, Carlin did a lot. I guess
it's like putting out an album in a way, right? Some people do only a couple. Some people are prolific.
I mean, there's Billy Joel, and then there's like Tom Waits.
Right, right.
Who knows? But
for sure, it's interesting.
So I think that's something I'm working on. Then I'm working on this documentary about comedy coming back in New York City. It's a lot of fun. I got great people in it already, like Ray Romano's in it, and Chris Redd, Sam J, Normand, Taylor's in it, Ronnie Chang.
Awesome.
A lot of great comedians are
That's
in
what's
it. So,
I feel like
and more. A lot of
when you make it. That like it becomes easier in a way because, like you said, you have great comics around you. Your experience is better, so you're not grinding. You're not like sleeping on fucking shitty beds and shitty motels. All of that is gonna like heighten. Like you're gonna be better at this shit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
is there more pressure now though? Because I again liken it to sports. I remember talking to Christian Yelich when he signed his big contract. I was kind of
we're very similar. You
guys are very similar. Tall, lanky guys. But like I was like,
he looks like Pete Davidson, but he's an incredible baseball player,
those
right?
Teeth, man.
He's adorable.
He's got the big teeth. Yeah. A lot of Pete comparisons. But he got like a $200 million deal, and I was like, were you like, okay, I'm not gonna like quit and be shitty, but like I'm set, I'm good. And he was like, because I used to think of that as that's the ultimate. Yes, you want to keep continuing to excel, but if everything goes wrong, you guys and your family generations are set. And he's like, yeah, that's true, but now there's pressure. Now when I don't play, everyone's like, you fucking,
overpaid piece of shit.
Right. Now, obviously it's different because there's no contract in comedy, but, it's like the bar is now set here. and you gotta
but
excel
that's
and
good,
be better
right?
and be funnier, or
It's tough where sometimes people will be like, someone's like, someone will post on social media, I already heard this joke or something. I'm like, well, I don't know if I don't think anyone's writing this much. Like there's very few comics who are releasing as many specials as I am. So if you're calling me lazy, like
that ain't it.
it's
Right.
like, so I think.
There's other criticisms, but that's not one.
There's pressure, yeah. And I do think people will be like, a lot of comics would call the New York guys underrated, and I'm one of the New York guys. So they'd be like, this guy, how come I've never heard of him? He's underrated. And then like at a certain point, well, you're not underrated forever. At a certain point, you're going to be rated.
Right.
And then at a certain point, you're going to be overrated. So I think it's
I
making.
feel like the goal is to be overrated in comedy.
I love it.
Yeah,
But the
Kevin
also,
Hart's not funny. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like,
and he is funny. I mean, that's the thing is like, but the problem is you want to be just built for it. You just want to have the tools so that when the good things come, you are ready. And as you say, it's good when people when the expectations are higher.
Right.
Because that means people think something of you. Like
Sure.
when you wow people, that means you kind of came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like once it's. I feel like some of the best experiences I've had in a comedy club is when I don't know the person.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my God, that was this is forever ago. I saw Ricky Velez for the first time.
Sure.
And he was opening for somebody. It wasn't the point I was there, and I was like,
Another New York
Ricky
guy.
Velez is the funniest motherfucker I've ever met in my life. I love
Ricky.
then it's a totally different story when you go there. And now I know. Now I know Ricky, so now I have an expectation.
What's
and
the
now
first? What's the first thing Chris Rock says when he gets on stage at the Cellar? Lower your expectations, because he knows that people know he's hilarious,
Right?
And it's like he's there to work out. So yeah, once you get to a
Right.
certain point, they expect that from you. Yeah, I think it's a little. It's tough. I'm also like, yeah, he's got a nice life.
Oh,
you know?
sure. But it's
it's
it's like
tougher.
every time you walk in a room, if people are like, one of the first interactions I ever had with somebody who recognized me early on. I was at a wedding and he talked to me for a little while and he introduced me to his wife and he goes, honey, this is the guy that I love from that website. You know what I'm talking about, Barstool? He's much funnier on the blog. He's much less funny in person. I was like, I'm fucking right here, man.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that was the meanest thing anybody's ever said about
Well, they don't
Those little
realize
expectations.
that. Well,
you know?
yeah. Well, I remember that talking funny thing with Seinfeld and Ricky Gervais and Rock and Louis and.
Brutal.
And Seinfeld said that Louis, when he was a young comic, brought him up as the funniest man in the world, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing to me?" Like
Right.
that's tough when people like start to be like, this guy is, I'm sure that when that you're almost being set up to fail with that
course.
intro, so I can understand
When the bar
that-
is
that
literally
would-
the top,
Yeah.
anything other than that is impossible. But
For sure.
But I mean, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like you continue to keep raising that bar, man.
Thank you,
So-
man. Should.
But really, I mean, even like from our first interviews and interactions.
Yeah, I've known you a
like,
while now.
Yeah,
Time
yeah.
flies, right?
And like I do feel like that's why I asked earlier if you feel like you've gotten better at podcasting and interviewing and talking, because I do feel like I've seen like that side come out even more, and I feel like you're putting the whole package together.
Thank you, man.
I
Back at you. I'm happy to see your success.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier what I do compared to you guys, but I'm happy to even just be, tangentially around the comedy world to talk to you guys. It's always fascinating. So, man, that fucking letter, the safety box letter is,
Yeah, isn't that weird?
I mean, it is an interesting thing from his point of view of like, you could just say it, it's not like you're dead, right? It's like, it's one thing if you
I
leave a
think it's
letter for
his
somebody,
way. I
but
think it's like kind of
it's up to
reasonable to
you
like,
to,
yeah, it's
like-
up to you if you want
That
this.
is,
So I think
yeah.
it's in a weird way kind of respectful.
and so you read that and then reached like,
Yeah, I
then
was
went
like, I'll
and
reach out. And apparently when I called him, he was on the shitter. So I called him and he literally got a call from his biological son. His wife's like, just take it. He's like, crap. All right,
found him.
hello.
Yeah. Maybe he could have kept that one to himself too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out. I'm on the couch.
He didn't tell me
What's
that
up?
till later. He didn't say, what is it? I'm pooping.
Man, interesting. And it's a great story, dude. So well done. And so, like you said, you're gonna be working on the next special. Everything.
The documentary is going to be really
documentary.
cool. Very New York.
what- so what's
the
that
documentary
exactly?
literally opens with rats running through the street, a homeless guy taking a shit while I'm on camera on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just turns to me and I go, New York's back, baby. That's how we open it. So it's
And it's just about being a comic in like the whole comic scene, or
well,
what?
we track from when New York is at a third capacity to now. So it's
Wow.
like we get all these cool interviews, a lot of comics hanging out outside. So, we have like Sam J smoking a blunt, drinking a whiskey outside, being loose. We have all these fun interviews. We have, you know, I talk to so many people, and
Yeah.
a lot of comics are just being like, "This is what the last years of my life's been like." It's
Yeah.
a lot of the camaraderie that's been missing. It's a lot of
Yep.
ball busting with your comic friends after you haven't seen them in a large group for
Right.
so long. So,
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's a lot of things. It's the return of New York City. It's the return of comedy in New York City, and it's the return of a lot of friendships that just were, you know, were over Zoom or maybe one-on-one hangs.
I know, like, I get it was a dark time and terrible in a lot of ways. And I know that even for the comedy scene, it was brutal and tough. But if you were good enough, lucky enough, persevered enough to like get through it, I think it's also one of the most fascinating times. Like I'm very happy to hear that somebody. I almost thought like
hopefully we'll look back and it won't just keep developing into a darker
yes,
plague.
let's hope it kind of is over. But I remember I was thinking I kind of dropped the ball that like Barstool should have like documented it, like what you're doing. So I'm happy to hear somebody did it, and like from your point of view, should be fucking awesome.
I'm bummed I burned so many of those jokes I liked in the roof thing, because I could have put that into it made it part of even better special. But I'm also kind of like, you know what?
I think you could though. I mean, you probably just won't because of the standard you hold yourself to. But I don't like if you were to work some of that into a polished special now. That's not a rooftop thing. I don't think that would be that bad.
Maybe.
And you're reaching so many new people each time. You know what I mean? I always forget that too. It's like some of the shit that we do, podcasts
Depends
I've
where it
done, blogs
goes.
I've done. There's new fans who are going to hear that for the first time.
For sure.
You say that, but you're going to do new shit. You're not going to put it in because that's
We'll
that's
see.
the
I
type
mean, we'll
of
see.
prolific
We'll see
writer you are.
how stunted I get. Yeah, but you never know when it's shut. Like I feel a little shut down right now.
Yeah,
I think
writer's block.
Yeah, because I just think you get to a point with the new stuff where you're like, you're kind of in hone mode, and yeah. I think I'm a little burnt out now, but I think that I'll get it back at some point.
Amen,
I'll
brother.
pop those ADD meds.
Let's go.
You know?
Keep it moving, man. I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot, dude.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for watching. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and leave a comment below. I'll chop it up with you in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about today's episode as well as what you want to hear in the future. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and leave a comment below. I'll chop it up with you in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about today's episode as well as what you want to hear in the future.